What is going on, metallurgists? Hope you're doing well and have had a wonderful week. We're Metallurgy, and it's good to see you. Another Friday. I am joined by two amazing gentlemen. Alan, how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, and I have had a week. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
But no, always, it's a fun way to wrap up the week. Hello to everyone in the chat. Lots of folks are already there. Sorry we're running a few minutes late, just getting things all set. Hope folks have had a better week than I might have. But yeah, we won't worry about any of that kind of stuff tonight because it's Friday night. That's Metallurgy night. And we're here with one of our favorite returning guests, buddies, colleagues,
Friend of the family, part of the family.
Yep, all of those things. Jurgen, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I had a good week. Nice weather out there. So yeah, nice way to wrap up the week. I've been on the show 2 weeks ago already, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'm back again.
Oh, that's quite all right. Nope, you'll be back again, I'm sure. This won't be the last.
to get on your nerves. So yeah.
What I want to know is where that other guy is that was on the Sodom review. Is that guy, is he crashing on your couch every once in a while? Drinks your beer and then leaves when it's gone? What's the deal with that guy?
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah, well, we'll get him back when we go to do the Sodom deep dive. So,
but we have to do it in the winter. I was sweating my ass off. Shit.
Commit to the bit, as Alan would say. Commit to the bit. Yeah. Well, our other guest, Steve Young from S&T Young, hopefully will be joining us soon. I know he had some other things to get done before he started, so got a message out to him, and when he shows, we'll invite him on, of course, and from there. But you know what?
Got to take care of the family stuff first.
Got to take the family stuff is far more important, and the three of us are quite comfortable at flying this ship. So thanks everybody for joining us. It's always great to see you. And yeah, so this is the first time we have done this topic. So I made sure that well, I didn't go through and see what I picked last time, but there are plenty of other options to discuss, and we figured with a couple new guests to the round, we would have it'd be interesting to see what other people brought to the table. So
yeah, and to be fair, the last time we did it, the show wasn't even called Heavy Metallurgy yet. It's been
really,
yeah. The thumbnail for that one doesn't have a Metallurgy tag or number on it. I think we kind of had to retroactively go back and figure out what number it was. It was literally one of the first handful of live streams that you and I did back in early 2021. If you give me half a second, I can pin it down. Probably.
We weren't fully realized flinched Clist yet.
yeah. The Clist was only slightly flinched at that point. Still kind of like more of a claw, like
arthritic, like an arthritic claw. I hadn't quite realized the full flinch yet.
Yeah. Let's find out just for fun, since we're sort of buying a couple of extra minutes for Steve here.
What's up, Tim? Good to see you, man. Hey, George. Thanks for getting a hold of me, man. We'll get you on here soon.
Oh, good. I was going to ask if George had reached out because, that'd be great to bring him on if he'd like to join us for a Friday night. But yeah, let's see. Change their sound. We did it May 28th of 2021, and it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th live stream that you and I did right after One Hit Wonders and like 2 weeks after we did the Manila Road thing with Aaron back in the day.
Yep.
So yeah, after that much time, I think it's fair to, like you said, revisit some of these things with some different guests and see what they've got to bring to the table for the topic as well. Yeah, I'm trying to see when we started using the actual Metallurgy tags, but yeah, it wasn't for at least a few weeks after that, because even the stream after it, thumbnail doesn't have it. Did this one have it? Yeah, it was maybe 3 or 4, maybe a month afterwards that we finally used the old Metallurgy logo that had like the Iron Maiden font. So yes, when we did change their sound, bands that changed their sound, that was with Andrew from Nachachuan. And yeah, it literally predates the stream. So we're not redoing it because technically Metallurgy has never done it.
Right on. Well, you know what? We're still grinding along, and it hasn't felt like how many ever years we've been doing this. It's
4.5. Yep.
It's still the thing I look forward to most every week, and we get to hang out with awesome people like Jurgen and all you folks in the chat. It's been an awesome run, and yeah, we keep on rolling, as long as you'll have us. But yep,
Cool.
Steve just checked in. He is still at his grandson's game, so he's going to be late, which is fine. Family and first, way more important. But yeah.
We'll hop on in, get things going, and yep, if he can join us later, we'll work him right into the rotation. It'll be no problem at all. So hope he's enjoying the game. Yep,
Hell
fun
yeah.
to get to go see the kids doing the sports.
So the topic of tonight is bands that change their sound. Sometimes it's for the good. Sometimes it's for the not so good. Sometimes it needed to happen. I tried to pick. I knew what I would have picked last time, so I tried to avoid some of the obvious stuff. I couldn't remember what Alan picked. So, yeah. Jurgen, we're going to start with you since you're our esteemed guest here.
I haven't rewatched that show, so there's probably gonna be a lot of double ups here.
It was so many years ago at this
That's
point,
right.
and I'm sure there's maybe only a handful of people here that were there and watched it. So
I would say Frosty, Tim, Aaron, and Rick might be the only people who can possibly call us out for repeating anything.
yeah, exactly. And if they can remember that, hell, good on them.
Yes, exactly. They
Can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday.
Hardcore, scout badge and metallurgy lore if they can remember the albums called out 4.5 years ago.
Oh, you're too kind, Captain K. Thanks, man.
Cheers, Cap.
So, you mentioned some bands changed for the better. I don't think I have any band pulled out here that changed for the better. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got a handful. I don't know. It's all up for discussion. And that's what we're here for, to discuss.
Okay, let's start with. Wait, no.
I was going to say, really?
Let's start. No. Oh shit! The wrong pile. No, seriously.
Bands who did change their sound here again.
That's a totally different show there. The bands have been the same since the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, so you have to do it on your own. Good night.
All right, we're down to 2, Marty. We're dropping desks fast.
Shit. It's like the old days.
No, seriously. I want to talk about the 3 of the bands of the Big 4, and we talked about calling the show who changed their sound early in their career. So I want to talk about Anthrax, Slayer, and Metallica. So you've got the debut albums, Fistful of Metal, of course, Kill 'Em All, and Show No Mercy. All of these 3 are heavily influenced by the new wave of British heavy metal. You can hear the metal riffs, the open string chords and stuff like that, the dual harmonies, and all 3 of them took the same route a little bit to their 3rd albums. So Fistful of Metal doesn't sound anything like Armed Among the Living. So they did slightly change on their 2nd album, Spreading the Disease. They still had the metal element, but they added the chuggy riffing, and they got a little bit faster and slower. So they did some ballady stuff with Armed and Dangerous and stuff like that. Same with Metallica. On Master of Puppets, they didn't sound anything like Kill 'Em All. They took the same route. They had some ballady stuff on their 2nd album. They still had the pure metal influences, and they got faster. The Slayer is a little bit the same. Rain in Blood. Listen to Rain in Blood. alongside Show No Mercy. It almost sounds like a different band. On their second album, they kept the metal element, but they didn't go. They didn't write any ballads or something like that. But they became faster and slower at the same time, and the metal thing on Hell Awaits is more of a dark, Merciful Fates thing. So these were the first three bands I thought about. Just want to throw out that quickly, but we all know the story.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right on.
All good examples. Mm-hmm.
Good start. Yep. Alan, how about you? I'm sure you did watch the last show and figured out what you showed last time, so you wouldn't repeat yourself.
I considered it, but I have not had time. So no, I did not. If I repeat myself, again, not the end of the world.
It comes with age.
I know I've got some different things in the stack, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start off with a band that pretty much defines changing your sound. They have rarely stayed in one lane for very long, and they've covered a wide spectrum of styles to the delight of lots and lots of their fans. The band is Ulver.
Oh, you bastard.
Sorry. I mean, it's a pretty obvious one, yeah. But a few bands have done as many different things as Ulver over the span of a career. Obviously, start atmospheric black metal. This was extremely raw black metal. Then they got into much more electronic sounding things. Then they got into urban soundscapes. Then they got into like really minimalist sounding soundtracks. And it just keeps going on and on and on. They're one of those bands that have always kept their fans guessing, and that's one reason their fans really, really like them. And that's one of the things about just this topic in general. When bands are changing their sound a lot, sort of intentionally, there's a balance there. For some people, that is amazing because yes, every time a new album gets announced, they're like, blank slate, no idea what to expect, and they really look forward to that new unknown experience. At the same time, that can be a turnoff to other fans and limit how many people do want to keep up with them, because you get used to one or two early Ulver albums, and all of a sudden you're on themes for William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, and you're like, what the hell am I listening to? And then they change the styles again, and for some people it's like, I don't want to play a guessing game every time I buy an album. I'd like some idea of at least what general quadrant of the universe the music's going to be from. So that can be a problem. Changing your style a lot, such as Ulver has, it can also make it really hard for fans who come along later to figure out, where am I supposed to jump in and start discovering this band? It's like, okay, you start with this album and like it, that's great. What happens if the next one you get is, again, like lycanthropian themes? Sounds like it's wolf themed. Sounds like that would be an odd, okay, I could see that being good. And you get that, and it's nothing. It's like, is this even the same band? That would maybe be a huge, deterrent to the person wanting to check out a third album. Like, what the hell? Or what if it happens in reverse? The first thing you hear, is one of those real minimalist electronic albums from like the very late 90s, early 2000s. You're like, what is this? This isn't even metal. And then you never listen to another Ulver album, and you don't really get to check out, anything like this one. So there are sort of pitfalls to constantly changing your sound. Obviously, artists are going to do what they want to do for themselves. That's fine. I'm not saying they shouldn't change. Just that, there's a cost that comes with that. It's not easy to keep up with those bands, and it can be very hard to figure out how to navigate their discography when you're a younger fan looking back through a whole bunch of albums. But anyway, I wanted to start with Ulver because I think they're the poster child. There are a few other bands we'll mention too, I'm sure, but Ulver's got to be like one of the top three bands to note when it comes to just, they change their sound a lot, all the time. So Marty, it is your turn. What you got on top of your stack? And sorry for stealing your Ulver pick.
No, there's going to be some of that tonight for sure. yeah, this is a band that changed for the worse, and really, when a bunch of members leave the band, it's going to happen. Things are going to change. But I remember being pretty heartbroken when I saw this sitting on the shelf at Camelot Music and thinking, "Oh yeah, new Sabbath album, Morning is Broken. That looks cool. I can't wait to check this album out."
Oh my.
Got home. Actually, I bought the tape of it. Got home, threw in the tape deck, and I'm like checking to make sure everything's right. And okay, I know that logo. I know that band. Yep. Oh, no Martin Walker here. That's interesting. He was replaced by Richie Desmond, which I looked up. He was in one other band that you've never heard of, and I have not listened to this. Probably I got this somewhere cheap because it's a noise release, and then it accidentally got ruined in the great bathroom flood of 2018. And I put it on tonight as I was picking my stuff for tonight. Maybe it's not as bad as I remember. Oh no. Maybe if the band wasn't called Sabbath and they didn't have two amazing albums before it, it wouldn't have been a bad record. But basically, the only original members left in the band was Andy Sneap and their drummer Simon Negus, and the rest of the other guys went on to be in Skyclad, which sounded like the continuation of Sabbath, but with a bit more of a folk. You had the fiddle playing in there. This here is, listening to it today, it's a very murky sounding album, so already the sound of it is in the toilet. It is a mix between a very tired thrash and more of a traditional heavy metal influence. The singer, Richie Desmond, he goes up in these falsettos, kind of like King Diamond on occasion, which it's like, what is what? Why? And it's not even trying to hide that that's, who he's influenced by. But his voice, other than that, really isn't that bad. It just, he feels like he's kind of wandering over the music. The music feels very uninspired, kind of disjointed the way it's put together. That's where I think the thrash, it has kind of that riff salad type of feel to it. The songs just don't ever really get into a full-on cohesion. But Richie Desmond had big shoes to fill. He didn't even try. He just went and did his own thing, which, kudos. You're going in like that. You can only do what you can do, right? But this, to me, was an utter fail. Morning is Broken by Sabbath, for those of you who couldn't see the cover. I mean, it looks very encouraging. Best cover ever? No, but it looks cool. It looks good. Disappointing. I was very, very, very disappointed when this album came out. And I think a lot of people were. I don't know if there's anyone I've ever seen on the VC or friends or people in the metal world that have said, you know what? I don't like the early Sabbath. I prefer Morning is Broken. If they do, you should be suspicious of them, because there's definitely something going on behind the scenes. So
someone might be trolling you with the contrarian card if they really want to die on that particular hill.
They're going to a place that I can't follow. So
nobody is going to mourn you for dissing that album.
Right.
That is a hard album to defend. Good call, Marty.
All right, Jurgen, back in action.
I was disappointed with that Sabbath album as well. At the same time, Candlemass released their Chapter 6 album, and I had tickets for the show. So the renewed Candlemass were supposed to go on tour with Sabbath, but the tour got cancelled because of poor ticket sales. Wonder why.
Yeah,
that was not the right time to catch either band necessarily.
No.
I don't mind Chapter 6, but
no, it's good. Yeah,
but I can see why a lot of fans wouldn't have been flocking to buy tickets at that point.
Yeah. So I've got a question. This is an obvious one. How do you get from this?
Oh, bastard. I'm going to be out of bullets here real quick. Steve?
to this.
Well, first you first you have to make something called Into the Pandemonium, which is a thing, and then you turn left,
Then you have to raid Paul Stanley's leftover clothes from the Hot in the Shade era.
Yeah, carry the 7. Oh. It's complicated. We might have to ask Siri for directions.
Yep, there's where it started, right there. Yep. But even though that's where it started, there was no indication from Into the Pandemonium that it was going to that. There is zero indication.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you aware of the fact that 2/3 of this lineup, so 2 out of 3 people, are on here? It's not only Thomas Gabriel, as he's called here. It's Stephen Priestley as well. He played on Morbid Tales. So yeah, how could that happen? And how could that happen?
Couldn't fit into them. They didn't button. I have some pants like that.
I just realized I've got the original inner sleeve, and this album is not even in the Celtic Frost or Celtic Frost discography anymore. But on the album, on the inner sleeve, all the others are mentioned.
Yep. I will say that album was so bad that it made Vanity Nemesis seem like a massive return to form, which we all know it was not a massive return to form. Sorry, not right, not good.
Do you really think it's that bad?
It has its moments. I mean,
let all that off. Put that aside. I think it's a funny album because you still have the primitive, let's call it black metal riffing or caveman riffing in glam rock songs. I think that is a funny combination. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Tom's voice. Go ahead.
Yeah, just, as much as we joke about it, and yes, it was it's a dramatic departure in style. It deserves to be ribbed for a lot of its choices. Musically, you're right though, Jurgen. I mean, if you stop thinking of it as Celtic Frost and you just listen to it, there are songs on there that are okay. Musically, it's not the worst thing ever. It's always panned as one of the biggest disappointments, and maybe it's a disappointment that doesn't make it the worst album ever recorded. It's just a huge drop off from what they've done before. But yeah, I see your point that musically you can have some fun listening to that album. It's not the most wretched thing ever set to vinyl.
No.
I will say though, people are saying, you say there's some pretty well written glam metal riffs on there. Tom Warrior does not have the voice. You look at glam metal, most of these guys are very competent, good singers. I mean, they've got chops, they've got good high end, they've got good dynamics, and Tom does not have that. And his voice felt very strange in that context. Mm-hmm. It didn't work on a lot of fronts for me. Yeah, there'd be the occasional Celtic Frost riff that came out of it. Like, oh, there's something in there I recognize, but man, swing and a miss. Holy crap.
Yep. But a band that changed a lot over the time. I mean, you had a big change with going into the Pandemonium. You had a big change coming out of the Pandemonium. You had a big change from Cherry Orchards to Nemesis. And that's a really good point, Marty. Nemesis sounds good because it follows Cherry Orchards.
Yeah.
If you reversed the order of them in the catalog, it would be a lot harder to stand up for Vanity Nemesis. It's an album I wanted to like, and I've always found it pretty boring.
Yeah.
But then you also have a big change for the best when they bounce back. Somebody had mentioned it in the chat earlier, Monotheist. Really, Time Ghoulie mentioned it a few minutes ago. Monotheist is a big change from what they had done before, and that worked out terrific. That's an excellent album.
Yep. And let's not forget, there was that one demo they did with the tank on it. They had rap on it. I mean,
I have never heard that, so I can pretend it doesn't exist.
Utterly lost. Tom creatively was utterly lost. And it's sad because you're acting out this loss of identity in the public eye from a band that had so much street cred, so popular, and then all of a sudden to be completely pulling the rug out from under your fans and yourself, and he looks back down, he hates it.
But they had this, last album before they eventually split up was that compilation Parched with Thirst, Am I and Dying.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are a couple of unreleased songs that were written for the next Celtic Frost album,
Mhm.
and 2 of those are not bad. They sound a little bit like going back to the Pandemonium stuff. So I like those 2.
Yep. Yeah, it's a weird discography. The one thing I'll say on behalf of Wart Tom, at least in the interviews and things I've read, he has never like tried to disown those weird albums in the catalog. He's never just turned a blank eye. It's just like, well, you know what? That's where I was at the time. I understand they're not great. I understand folks don't like them, but they are my albums. That's just where my head was at the time. Maybe it was up my ass, but you know, he does kind of take responsibility. He doesn't just write them off as like, no, I don't know what that was. So I give him some credit for that. He doesn't try to sweep it under the rug, so to speak.
Yeah. He always said in interviews he has to be in a bad mood to write a good album. So he was in love with an American girlfriend, and he was so happy when he wrote Cold Lake. So
yeah,
wrong time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very old interview, but I remember him also saying that just coming out of Into the Pandemonium, with that being obviously a really hard project of an album to put together, given the budget constraints, they were trying to do something very big with a very small budget, with a label that wasn't completely sold on the concept. That part of it was just the frustration of that and wanting to be like, say, screw it. I just wanted to do something for fun rather than torturing and agonizing myself. And like Jurgen said, he was at a good point in his life and wanted to do an easy album, something that wasn't going to require fighting with Walter Bach over how many different French horn players you could hire to fill in a 30-second orchestral interlude. So fuck this, let's just do something fun and be done with it.
Yeah, maybe Tom was in love at that time, but he should have kept his fingers off his girlfriend's closet and his her makeup case. And fortunately enough, we don't see on the back cover photo. We don't see what shoes he wears. Maybe, that would have been disturbing.
Paid more attention to the cherry pie and less to the cherry orchards, maybe.
Yeah.
Here's an idea. Write some songs and present them to your girl. I wrote these songs for you. Ooh. And not release it. Just give it to her. A personal little gift for you. That would have been completely fine. You can't, hold that against the guy. That's fine. But
thanks, Psychic. That demo that you mentioned, Marty. Psychic says it was called Prototype. Yeah.
Prototype, yeah.
That's it. Thanks, man. Brain is a bit mushy these days. All right. Alan, you're back.
All right. Well, let's go with the next one on my stack. And Goldilocks. Yep, that's a good point. A lot of those bands might come up a bit later too, but not right now. Next on my stack, sticking to something a bit more black metal, is Mayhem.
Bastard.
Wow, I didn't think you'd pick Mayhem. So,
You're in my pocket tonight. What's going on?
I don't know. I really didn't think you'd pick that one.
That's all good.
But so again, start, with, a very, again, 80s first wave black metal kind of, vibe going on with Death Crush, very noisy, kind of, punky buried in there. And again, Mayhem doesn't have the longest catalog. There's been big gaps in between some releases, but they've covered a lot of ground over time. And a lot of that is tied, yes, to lineup changes. Frosty mentioned it earlier, but a lot of these changes where bands had to shift sound, they often are due to, a member, like a vocalist changing. And Mayhem's gone through a few of those. But you go from this, and then a few years later, you listen to something like Live, at Leipzig album, and they're a very different sonic space. Very cold, that kind of classic, second wave Norwegian black metal sound. And then you jump ahead a couple of years later, and on Day Mysteries, you've got, again, a very different sound. The production on Day Mysteries doesn't follow that Norwegian sound. It's a, thicker, warmer sound overall. And of course, you've got, very different vocal delivery, given those songs. A lot of those are the same songs that Dead was singing, but they sound so different with Attila behind the mic. And then you jump forward a few more years and, you're into Wolf Lair's Abyss and Grand Declaration of War, where they're bringing in more electronic sounds. You've got Blasphemer working at things. And Chimera sounds a little different than those. And then Ordo Ad Chao has a completely different production. You go from Chimera, which is so cold and sterile and, clean sounding, and Ordo Ad Chao, it feels like you're just like clawing your way through spider webs and dirt to make things out. I like it. I think it sounds brilliant, but it's a 180-degree turn. And even up really the only album that's ever sounded similar to something previous was the last one. Damon feels a little bit like they were trying to go back to basics. But even Esoteric Warfare, an album I'm not nuts about, it did sound different than what came before it. Although, again, there are some big lineup shifts there that mark a change in direction. So people are going to like different parts of Mayhem's catalog than others, maybe. But yeah, a lot of that's due to the fact that Mayhem did keep changing their sound. They didn't just settle in and keep making generic Norwegian black metal albums, which they could have. They probably would have made an awful lot of money, more money maybe than they have, if they had just stuck to, hey, here's Day Mysteries Part 2. Here's Day Mysteries Part 3. People would have gobbled it up. But they didn't do that. I think that's to their credit. And while I don't love every Mayhem album, I do like a lot of them. So it's been interesting following that band as they've changed sounds a lot from album to album to album.
And hats off to Runa for jumping into, almost legendary shoes at that point. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure the urge was there from the band and him to follow what De Mysterious had done, and but they didn't. He completely, the Wolf Lair Abyss is just acidic and feral sounding. It's a different band, a completely different band, different singer, different guitar player, but still it somehow worked. So
yeah, and I think again, like them or not, I think by changing their sound, it always felt to me like Mayhem was kind of staying one step ahead of just the pack of other bands that were coming along in their wake, and kind of not necessarily doing a bad job, but really just sort of adopting the standard sound. Mayhem established that we're going to lead the way. We're not just going to follow along with the rest of the pack of bands. So kudos to them for staying on that kind of cutting edge and trying different things, even if not all of them were accepted as warmly as others.
Yeah, and with the last album, Demon, they were on tour for The Mysterious for 2 years or something like that. So rightfully so, that influenced the songwriting for the last studio album. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If they've been playing that stuff a lot. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, then, Marty, I believe it's over to you, sir. What's left in your stack that Jurgen and I haven't already pillaged?
Man, it's going to get worse here in a minute. All right, well, this band is back, and they just released a single called Renewal that I was quite surprised. Is it Young Corner? No, it's not. But it's a good song.
No.
I figured you probably didn't like it, but I was expecting this. I was, hearing them talk how much they loved this era, and I heard whispers on the wind that they were, going to be forging on in this style. When this album came out, man, it was the most bloody awful shit in my Wheaties ever. This thing, I couldn't believe what I was listening to. People like this record, and I get it. The metal world was starting to shift towards more of a groove type of thing. And I'm sorry, but a band like Corner, Skeleton on Your Shoulder, the whole RIP album, all of their stuff leading up to this. Mental Vortex, I would say, was a slight indication that they were toying with this idea. Their songs started to get a bit more streamlined, a little less. The technical flair was a little more reserved, I think. But I wasn't expecting this. So there's a few moments on here that are pretty good. But man, for a band that called Corner, it still sounds like Corner, which is the heartbreaking part. Obviously, the voice, you can't really, that is very much a staple or a very much a key characteristic for this band. This was bad. It just was. And if you like this album, cool. I get it, I guess. But yeah, when I listen to the new Renewal, the technicality is a bit reserved, but I ended up liking the song. So I have high hopes for the new full length. And but when Grin hit, you could tell it was a band that was trying to make life a little bit easier for themselves. I can imagine going up live and playing these songs or stuff off of Mental Vortex was probably a bit more favorable than doing the fretboard gymnastics that they had been doing their entire career leading up to this. So if you like it, cool. For me, this was not the Corner that I wanted to hear. And that's not their fault. That's my problem. It is their fault, but it's my problem, not theirs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think Karl Walterbach had a huge hand in this record as well. Do you know the story? It took them a long time to record the album, and a little bit like Into the Pandemonium by Celtic Frost. He he got into the studio and said, no, it doesn't work like that, and he hired guest musicians who played on Grin. So it's not necessarily the Coroner guys playing on that stuff. I don't know if that is mentioned in the Noise Records book.
I don't remember that, no.
But if you watch the documentary, which is in Swiss, German, which is hard to understand, but
I watched that on subtitles, but yeah.
Yeah, they told the story there. So yeah.
I just can't believe, I grew up worshiping Noise Records. Everything that came out, there's a spell there where everything that came out to me was pure freaking gold. Even the lesser popular bands, pure gold. And to hear the shystery things that guy was doing behind the scenes, treating Milla from Creator like shit, and Celtic. I understand all the studio time Celtic Frost was eating up to make their masterpiece. Financially annoying. I mean, I can see shit like that, but changing bands' covers. That Rage album cover for Secrets in a Weird World, killer cover art. Why wouldn't you put that on the album? Instead, you put a promo picture on there. I mean, just all these things that he would do. And to hear that he was actually getting involved in bands' music and saying, here, I'm going to hire these guys. That's a line. That to me is a line that how could he feel good about crossing that? Or if I was in the band, how would you let that happen? How? It's craziness.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Yeah, I don't remember that. I haven't read the Corner chapter in that book, so I do not in a while, so I don't remember. But that's that would explain some things. But yikes.
Wow, not good.
Not good.
All right,
some nasty hardcore, going into a little bit of an alternative stoner rock stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that's a big
one. So, COC, you've got the debut album, which is basically it's a hardcore album.
Yeah,
you can hear a little bit of change. I still consider Animosity a hardcore album, but you can hear the Sabbath influences. Then you've got the transition album, Blind.
Oh, it's Technocracy, the Technocracy EP too. That was yeah.
But on Blind, on paper, they got a new vocalist who came from a band called School of Violence, which is another hardcore band. You would expect them to go back to the hardcore roots, but instead they did Blind. And then we come to this.
Yep.
So there's no hardcore roots on that. It has a little bit of alternative leanings, but most of all, it is just a rock album. Yo, COC
it's got that big fuzzy, kind of stonery rock sound to it. You're right.
Yeah, so Deliverance was the first one in that style, and they kept on doing that for the rest of their career.
Yep.
but they still used their little skull logo. Oops.
Yep. No, that's a good call, because they have that, Blind is a real standalone in their catalog in a way. It doesn't sound a lot like the stuff from before or after. I think it's the only album with that lineup too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's kind of a shame. I like that album. That was one of those oddities that came out there in the early 90s that I think has held up really well for me over the years. I can still go back and listen to Blind, and there's a lot of good stuff on it. I don't mind the stoner stuff. I know Marty's not into that phase of their career, but Deliverance is an album that also has held up well. I don't need every COC album after that, because like you said, Jurgen, they eventually found their lane and didn't change anymore. But I think they're good at that style. It's just not something that I need a ton of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Deliverance is enough. Deliverance says it all, and after that, they just more or less repeat themselves.
Yeah, well said.
And the funny thing is, I've seen COC only one time, and that was on the Blind tour. And they didn't play anything from the old albums. They just played songs from the Blind album.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, it's like like putting oil and water together,
Yeah, but it's a very, very standalone album. Yeah.
It's kind of funny because after Deliverance came Wise Blood, and so they could have just called that Deliverance 2, and with the cover art they could have called it Deliverance 2 Squeal Like a Pig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably a good thing they didn't.
And they had the James Hetfield connection on that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, he did some vocals on the album, and you can hear Wise Blood sounds very much. It is a better version of a Load and Reload.
That's interesting. I've not thought of that before.
Oh, we got a guy coming in here. There he is. Hey, Steve, how's it going, man?
What's going on? Can you guys hear me all right?
Perfect.
Sure
How you
can.
doing?
Well, I rushed my ass home to get here.
You didn't have to rush. It was all we had it covered. No big deal.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't thinking because it was at the football game, and I was sitting there. Why am I getting messages? And I'm like, well, my time was messed up. I was thinking 9 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock for some reason. I don't even know why.
Yep. There's the time zone difference. How did your grandson's game go?
Well, I think they'll be all right. Their power ranking is 20th in the state, but they got the number 1 team in the state in their conference. So it's gonna be a gauntlet. There's a bunch of good teams. There's a couple of them I think could go to state. There's a Joplin Class 6 school. It's a big school, but there's 5 other Class 6 schools in the conference, a couple of 5s, and those couple of 5s are really good too. So we'll see how it goes. I think honestly, I think the offense is going to be really good. I'm kind of skeptical on our defense.
Well, fair enough. Hope they have a good season.
They will. They normally do. I mean, it could be a really good season for them. I think their offense is definitely going to put up a lot of points. There's a kid on that team that was phenomenal.
Very cool. Very
cool.
On. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you. Yeah. Breaking away and hopping
What's
on
up,
here.
Jurgen?
And everybody, if you're not familiar with Steve's channel, he's been on here once before. He has S&T Young. He's a fantastic bass player and has a hell of a YouTube channel. He shows a lot of killer shit, has a killer collection. He's an old fart like us. And yeah, we all kind of sprouted from the same era for sure. So Steve, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us again. We appreciate you, man. And why don't you jump in and
Jurgen was just wrapping up Corrosion of Conformity as a good example of a band that changed their sound a lot. And feel free to jump in with one that you'd like to talk about. We've only covered a handful so far, so it's all good.
these two albums, they changed kind of back to their sound, but they're in the mid '90s. they changed their sound to distortion. I just showed this not too long ago. I really like this album because
Never heard that album.
it's really good. It's got a little bit of groove. It's progressive. There's some really cool stuff on this album. Last track is really strange though, but most of it's really good. I love it. But they don't sound anything like this one on this. But you can tell it's the same band. It just has a different. It's not really a thrash album. It has some thrash elements to it. It's got some groove elements to it. It's really a heavy album, but just I love this album. Forbidden's Distortion is phenomenal to me. But there's some really good stuff on this. But I don't know where you guys are at with. I have a big stack of stuff, so I probably picked a couple of things probably the same.
Right on.
All right.
No,
Yeah.
that's all good.
Yeah, Forbidden's a good example. Yeah, we got into albums like that and like Green, and yeah, they were not in the same place they were back on Forbidden Evil.
No, but I like Green too. But this one, man, I love this damn it. This album right here, just love it to death.
And Marty, you guys just covered Forbidden Evil on Album Club just a couple of nights ago, right?
Yep. Wednesday night we did for sure.
Yep. So folks can jump back over and check that out this weekend if they want to hear. It was just you, Kellen, and Logan, right? Jim was off.
Yep, Jim was off.
Wednesday night. Yeah, making sure I'm not getting things mixed up. But yeah, you had a good 3-man discussion there on their debut.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in that stream, that I've never heard Green or Distortion, and they just never turned up. The first two were readily available. I bought them the week they came out, and that they just lost their distribution. And then I started hearing they went groovy, and I thought, oh, they just got Pantera, and I just stopped caring. But I did get Omega Wave. I thought that was pretty good return to form. Russ singing a little more death metal, which I didn't care for, but the riffing was still killer. Cicero is an amazing guitar player, absolutely sick.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Distortion, I think Distortion is an overlooked album. Most people stopped after Twisted Into Form, and they got groovy, and maybe they did listen a little bit to Green, but Green is a full-fledged groove metal album, and Distortion is. It has no speedy parts, but you still have the complexity of the riffing from the first two albums. So Distortion is a perfect transitional album. Yeah. Just got that back in my collection, Steve.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I listened to that Distortion quite a bit when it first came out. It was an accident. I was actually looking for another copy of Twisted Into Form. They didn't have it, and they had the new album. I think that was 97. Somewhere around there.
Sounds about right.
I grabbed it. I was like, when I put it in, I was like, what the hell is this? But it grew on me, and I love it now.
Sorry.
Nope.
Yeah. Can't type and think at the same time. Okay, Alan.
All right. Well, let's see. Covering some thrash ones. I'll do a thrashy one here as well. This band... A lot of their albums are kind of consistent, but there are some shifts in their catalog. We talked about them in detail on an older episode. Overkill went through some of those kind of same shifts. The debut album is kind of proto-thrash, but it's not quite fully baked. Great album, of course. We've talked about it many times. By the second album, Taken Over, they're very much in the East Coast thrash vein and doing it very well. And you get into the 90s, they have the one weird kind of Sabbath throwback album with I Hear Black that's just really kind of out of place in their catalog. Not a fan of it. And then, they got back on track quickly with Wide Fucking Open, but they did start kind of gradually ramping up the groove through the next couple of albums in the 90s. And they stuck with that for a while. And then, around, Ironbound and, the Electric Age, they got more back to kind of a more straightforward American thrash sound. So, yeah, there's been some shifts. Overkill is no over. They're not completely, jumping into, electronic gothic trip hop or something. But there are variations in their sound for different phases of their career. For me, I've enjoyed some of the newer albums, although I feel like they're getting a little repetitive. They're probably one of those standard Nuclear Blast kind of contracts. And of course, yeah, the early stuff's amazing. A lot of the stuff they were doing by like the late 90s and through the early 2000s, when they're in that groovier phase, it's not awful, but it's really just not for me. So yeah, sometimes we think of bands like Overkill as being extremely consistent. Well, yes and no. There's not huge deviations, but there are definitely changes that you have to be mindful of. Again, if you're telling somebody like, "Hey, I'm interested in Overkill. What should I do?" I don't think it's a band where you want to say, "Oh, just pick any album. They're all the same." It's like, you want to steer towards certain things based on how much groove you want or how much you don't. So I'll add Overkill to the list of thrash bands that did change sound some as time went by.
I remember being so sad when I got I Hear Black. Oh my God.
That is still one of the most disappointing albums I ever bought, especially where like I knew the band and I bought it, almost as soon as it came out. That was a letdown that I still feel in my gut, and it's been 32 years ago. Yeah.
I love the album now.
It's cool. It has its fans, and that's absolutely fine. But I just getting over that initial disappointment, I've never quite managed. Too traumatic. I can't heal.
What could go wrong with a stonery Overkill album?
I heard a lot of Alice in Chains on that record, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is happening right now? Oh my God. It feels like it goes on forever. Go ahead. Sorry, Alan.
No, I agree, Marty. To me, it's just like it's a very slow, and for parts of it, they just sound very resigned. The vocal, the energy's not quite there. The songs, Bobby's, the way he sings them, it just feels like, here's a song, we're playing it, life is hard, shit changes. It's such a different attitude for Overkill. I loved Overkill's, just real nasty, pissy take on thrash, and to hear them just be like, yeah, well, here's a few riffs. There you go. Yeah, there's just no fire to the album, and some bands can do that, but it just doesn't work for me for Overkill. But if folks like it, that's cool. Would never slag anybody for liking the album.
No, we might poke fun and bust balls, but that's about it. Everybody like what you like, and that's. Oh yeah. I'll never besmirch anyone other than if you like the third Sabbath record, then. Then we might have a conversation, but
if you want to defend Morning Has Broken, you're on your own. Yeah, a part of it for the Overkill album too, for me, just to give it some context. Yeah, that one came out like late spring of '93. I had suffered through Metallica changing in a direction I didn't like. I had suffered through Megadeth changing in a direction I didn't like. I really felt like Overkill was the band that was going to deliver a real killer thrash album. I'd suffered through Testament, delivering The Ritual, which is an album I was never nuts about. I really thought Overkill was going to be like, yeah, here's going to be the thrash album that's just going to punch me in my fucking face and make it all right. And it did exactly it did the same thing Metallica and Megadeth and others were doing. It got boring. That I think is the real reason I've never been able to forgive that album. It was supposed to be the album that kind of pulled me out of that little sort of drudgery of thrash bands gone wrong, and Overkill just kind of followed the rest of them.
Yep.
Yeah, except it seemed like Sodom was the only one that didn't really. I think they actually went heavier in the late '90s, like Tapping the Vein. It was a good example, or not late '90s, but early '90s. Tapping the Vein was the example. And going back to that Overkill album, I really like that Zero the Hero ripoff track on that album.
Yeah,
it sounds a lot like Zero the Hero.
Yep.
Sodom, for me, there was some moments of disappointment in their catalog. Tapping the Vein is not one of them. I love that record, but when I love Tom's fucking demonic snarl. His voice is so good. But then he went to this more hardcore shouting type of thing, which, knowing what he's capable of, it was always kind of a letdown for me. But still, the albums were good. It added that the groove thing, man. There's during the '90s, there was a period where it infected everything, from death metal to everything, and it's just Sacred Reich, you name it. All these bands were changing into this thing. I know it probably broadened their audience because there was definitely a more commercial contingent of people that liked that. I just couldn't do it. I'd make mine Persecution Mania every day, all day. Perfect to me. But
yeah, I mean, the scenes were changing. I mean, if some of these bands had stuck to what we wanted them to, they probably would have crashed and burned and not lasted as long as they have. So, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
It's this band's fault for that groove crap.
It is.
And someone just said yes. Blame Pantera in the chat.
Yeah, actually, if you want
a big part of it. Yeah.
You want to boil it down, you can blame Exhorder because they were a big influence on that band's sound.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
True. Marty will take any chance possible to throw Exhorder under the bus.
They're playing about 30 minutes from my house here in a month or so, and I'm probably not going. It's 6 feet under an Exhorder.
That's not a lineup for you.
Why would I waste my time? It's good to support a heavy tour coming through northern Michigan. But there is a Kiss tribute band coming, Mr. Speed, that I'm very interested in going to see. So,
now see, I was backing your play, and now you're making it really hard to do that, man.
No
Mr.
shame.
Speed,
Mr. Speed, yeah.
Please tell me their merchandise table has underwear that is a Mr. Speedo.
God, I hope so because I want one.
If they do, you better buy a couple.
I want a Speedo with Bon Jovi frillies down the legs. That'd be sweet. Anyway.
The underwear like the kid from Detroit Rock City with just Gene Simmons' tongue hanging down the crack of his butt or on his crotch or something.
I have Northern European blood. I wouldn't that underwear wouldn't do well for me. I'd be very embarrassed. Anyway, I'm up next.
Tony's seen Mr. Speed before, so yep.
Yeah, they're all dressed up in the Dynasty era costumes, which I could, whatever. But Slaughter in the Vatican is okay. It's just I struggle with the Southern sound, man. I just do, like Corrosion Conformity, all that Southern, like Goat Whore,
Acid Bath.
Acid Bath.
For you.
Just
Yeah.
not,
I Hate God. I'm guessing you're not into
that kind of violent sludge. I got to be. I Hate God are good enough. I just am never in the mood to listen to that stuff. It's just not my wheelhouse.
That's okay. Nobody likes it all.
No, and I get why they're popular. I sent you that Acid Bath CD, didn't I, Alan?
No, I already have the Acid Bath.
I think I sent it to Tim in the chat. But I listen to it, I hear grunge. It sounds like grunge to me, which is, I like some grunge, but I don't know. Anyway, that's another topic, I guess. But let's go to one of the big ones. And Venom's Calm Before the Storm.
Oh, good call.
I was a bit primed for this because I had that tape, the Knocked Music live album. It was put out, the version I had on cassette was put out on K-Tel, which I always thought was hilarious. Because I grew up having like K-Tel compilations like Full Tilt and Radioactive and all the hits of the era, Ambrosia and Toto and all this stuff on these K-Tel comps. And then here comes Venom with a K-Tel release. I'm like, what the hell? But anyway, on that live album, there is a live version of Chanting of the Priests, which is a pretty okay song, a little catchy, a little more commercial. So when this came in on cassette and Camelot Music, I'm like, new Venom, fuck yeah. I got that home. I'm like, what is going on? Kronos in a more melodic context, a slightly more commercial context, it retained a bit of that classic Venom. His voice is very characteristic. He's got a very good voice. I like it. It has a bit of a punk vibe to it, which Venom had a little bit of punk in it for sure. This year, he's got a new lineup. I think Abaddon is still on here, but the other guys are not. There's obviously a more commercial, I wouldn't go full blown hair metal, but it's definitely they're swimming in it a little bit, which basically the lineup would go on to be the Kronos project, right? I've only heard a couple of Kronos songs. It sounds basically like Calm Before the Storm.
Yeah.
here's a band, you lose your guitar player and one of your main songwriters, and things change, and they're trying to fit with the times. And really, Venom took out their counterparts. They took out Metallica, and the writing was on the wall. Venom was no longer the fastest and the heaviest.
Mhm.
And where bands like Metallica and Megadeth and the thrash, they had the technical proficiency to move extreme music coming out of the new wave of British heavy metal sound, like Jurgen mentioned, and moving it into a more extreme realm. Venom didn't have the drummer for that, not even close, and they just weren't geared for that.
It's okay. They probably didn't have the bassist or the guitarist for it either.
They really didn't. They probably didn't. Let's be fair. I mean, but Abaddon was definitely the weakest link in that chain. But the fact you watch them live on the videos, and they rehearsed that way so much, for them, they were tight. They played together well, but God, just sitting there watching, like on the 7 Dates of Hell video, they zoom in on Abaddon, and his rolls sound like sacks of potatoes rolling down the stairs. They're just not good. The fact that they could play to some of his meter was like this the whole time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Here, this is a very distant album from where they started. Very distant, and a bit of an attempt to fit into some subgenre in the metal world that they could maybe navigate, because they couldn't navigate the thrash realm. They just couldn't. I don't think they were geared that way. And even though I put this on and I don't hate it, it's not Cold Lake, but it's certainly not Prime Venom.
This has
Not
one of my
Prime
favorite Venom songs. Under a Spell. Listen to that again. Under a Spell is a hit.
Black Christmas, Devil's Child. Oh man.
And this is, I think this is the consequence of they got into a dead-end street with Possessed. Where would you go?
Yeah.
So they developed from Welcome to Hell. They got musically better, but kept the same style on black metal. They expanded their style a little bit on At War with Satan.
Yep.
And then with Possessed, they were at the end of the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
No escape. So there was just this little lane leading out of that, and I think this is the consequence of it.
Yeah, 100% agree. And really, At War with Satan, we covered that on the album club as well. That is an album where you can tell they really tried hard to be, conceptual, and I think that is the peak creativity for Venom. Good or bad, I think it's a great record. I love that record. But you could tell that they kind of shot their wad creatively on that one, and I don't even know if they could have done At War with Satan Part 2.
If you listen closely to the B-side of At War with Satan, they have the song Cry Wolf on there.
Yeah.
That gives you a little hint of what's coming out with that.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's got a sleazy kind of vibe to it, for sure. All right. Well, you're up, so it's your turn. So we'll just leave you right up there.
So my last pick was a hardcore band going into a way other style with COC. What about that?
Yep.
Prong started as a hardcore band as well.
Yep.
These guys were security guys in the CBGB's club, and they formed the band. And they were pretty much inspired by the bands who played in CBGB, so Agnostic Front and Carnivore and stuff like that.
Tommy Victor was a sound guy at CBGB's. He did a lot of sound for the club.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So I just heard he started as a security guy.
He probably did, but he ended up on the board. He said, I watched an interview with him when he said he used to take a tape deck in and record just about everybody that played, just for his own archives and shit. So that's kind of cool.
So with the first two albums, they stayed in that lane. Then there's two albums that differ, back to differ a little bit. And Prove Me Wrong is a really, really weird album.
Yep.
Strange riffing on it. I love it because I love Voivod. So yeah.
Yeah.
And they ended up sounding like that.
I love that album. I think it's a good album.
Yeah, I love that one as well. So they got the guy from Killing Joke on bass for that one, and this is a pure groove metal album, and it's just
Ted Parsons.
Ted Parsons was the drummer, Paul Raven.
Paul Raven on bass, right on. Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
And even the unknown songs, there are only hits on that album, and a little bit like COC, they just continued to release follow-ups to that sounded just the same until today. So yeah, Prong.
Yeah,
They
good pick.
Yeah, I never kept up with them, but I liked some of their stuff when I heard it back in the day.
Baphomet Medic Fanny Packer. That song is on Cleansing. The Rude Awakening album after that's not bad either. I kind of like that one too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Steve, you're back. What you got?
Well, I got a band that it seems like not one of their albums ever sounds the same. They always change their sound and everything, like Jess is. And but the album that came out in '97, when I first heard it, I was like, it sounds like freaking 97 era Megadeth to me, and it did. But it'd be Carcass, a Swan Song.
Good example. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this album just sounds nothing like this whatsoever.
You talk about ruining my life for a while. Holy shit, that album there did it.
Yeah, and then this album sounds like nothing like any of them either. But I always liked this. Now, when I first heard it, I disowned it. I disowned Carcass for probably a year after I heard this album.
That was mad.
Yeah, I was pretty. I didn't.
I think exactly the same.
But
Gotta pull your punches when you got them.
Yeah. So I think I was gonna have. Actually, my next one was gonna be Venom. You showed the Venom, so I was like, well, I'll go to Carcass next. But yeah, this album, now I love it to death. I love Polarized. I love the bass work on this too as well. But I love Polarized was the song that actually won me. And then once I heard that song, started playing it, it started getting a little bit more tolerable. And now it's one of those albums that I'll go for when I'm in those mood for I Hear Black by Overkill or The Ritual by Testament or the Black Album or Countdown to Extinction or what have you. Those all kind of fit that mold or that realm of music. It looks like I'm turning into what's that MTV guy that was
Max
in
Headroom.
The TV just yeah. But yeah, anyway, yeah, Black Star, there's so many good songs on this album. Really do like the guitar tone on this as well. But killer one. But
yeah, it maybe runs out of gas at the end, but it's got some good tracks on it. I understand what it did to Marty what I Hear Black did to me, I think.
Yeah.
So I get it.
All right, good pick, Alan.
Okay, let's see. There's a couple that folks have been calling for in the chat. So
wait, hold 1 second, Alan. Steve, what do you think of Black Star then?
Black Star?
Yeah, the band that came out after Swan Song. It was
their post Carcass one.
Yeah, post Carcass.
To be honest with you, I don't think I've ever heard it.
Dude,
I need a familiar.
I've got a sealed copy for you. I've got a sealed. I will send it to you.
Okay. Yep.
Anyway,
I've
sorry,
actually
Alan.
never heard that album.
No. Yep. All right, but yeah, chat's been calling for a few that's in my stack, so let's do one of them here. And Marty, this may have been in your stack. I'm not sure. If so, apologies. But
nope.
Amorphous. The name literally means without form,
Yeah.
so it kind of makes sense that they would change a lot over time, and they did.
That's a special album too. God, I love that record.
Currently, Nesmus is it's a great example of that early Finnish death metal sound. It's got all the gloominess and stuff to it. It's not a sound they stuck with long though. By the time you get to Tales from the Thousand Lakes, they're cleaning up the sound a lot. They're adding some 70s influences. They've got a very set lyrical concept. Going back to these ancient Finnish stories. And the albums after that, again, they just kept changing, and to a point, sort of drifting out towards the boundaries of metal a bit. Later on, you had a big change with the vocals. They have a new album this year. I think Amorphous. I haven't kept up with them completely over the years. They're one of those bands I'll check in on once every 5 years. I'll hear one of the albums they've done. And it seems like over the past, I don't know, at least 10 or more years, they really have kind of settled in on a sound. And it's not a bad sound, but the albums come across as kind of samey to me. I listen to an album like, that sounds pretty good, but I immediately forget it exists. Whereas, with the early albums, they're all really captivating in their own way. Finnish bands seemed to do this. I'm sure it's not the only band from Finland we're going to talk about tonight where the first album's different from the second album's different from the third album. A lot of those bands, didn't last all that long either. They kind of some of them drifted out of metal completely very quickly. I think a big part of it people forget is how young some of these kids were when they were making their debut albums. They were still teenagers, which means they were still rapidly absorbing music. They hadn't heard a lot of 70s music yet. So when they've heard it, it kind of blew their mind and shifted their interest in other directions. It wasn't just that they were trying to become commercial or get a bigger audience or anything like that. It's that, this was just early teenage, testosterone and angst and stuff. And then they started, add 2 or 3 years of maturity and a whole lot of other musical influences, and they were bound to do other things. And it just seems that, you really see that in the Finland scene really, really strongly. So Amorphous, excellent example of a band that always changed sound, and at least for the first several albums, I thought they always came up with something really cool.
Yeah, and they changed the sound even from their first EP and from the old Abhorrence demos, which is pretty brutal death metal, to the first album, which has a lot of melodic stuff going on.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Jurgen. I didn't mention like Privilege of Evil and stuff, but those. I remember the first time I heard Privilege of Evil compared to the other stuff. I'm like, it was one of those I had to go back and just like, wow, this is really the same band. When did this come out compared to the other things? It threw me for a loop. It was so different. I forgot about that. Good call.
I've got a funny Amorphous story. I saw them when they were on tour with. Do you want to hear that?
Oh, of course. We're here to talk.
when they were on tour with their album Elegy, they became pretty big, and everybody knew who they were and stuff like that. They were playing a festival, and we were sitting around in a circle, smoking like a really, really fat joint. And all of a sudden, these hippie guys with their capes came. We realized it was Amorphous, and with their broken English, they asked, "Can we have a sip?" And we threatened them to beat them up. If they don't piss off,
They're wearing capes?
Yeah, like those the poncho stuff. Yeah, not capes. Ponchos.
The drug rugs. Yeah.
Huh. Can we have a sip? Or like, fuck off.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, look at the rest of my vinyl on the way here. Pretty obvious.
Jurgen, maybe if you'd let them have a hit or two, they wouldn't have got and made so many sound alike albums over the years. You might have missed a chance to expand their mind.
Yeah, we should have given them some LSD or something like that.
There you go. Right. Well, let's talk about Invasion by Manila Road. First album really doesn't give much of an indication of what this band would become. And, on its own merit, this is a pretty good, interesting album. They sound like a street rock band.
Yep. No, they sound like a street jammer.
Which Lord Weird Sluffeg covered that song on one of their EPs, and they did a great job on it. You can tell that they may have been a bit of an influence from this era, but this is just their second album. They started to show signs. The second album was called Metal, and there's a couple songs on there that are just classic Manila Road. And here again, no real indication other than even back then, Mark was a sick guitar player. This is just more of a rock vibe. It's a street rock band. They're a little proggy and quite a bit proggy, I guess, on this. Yeah, I got to say, this is one I don't listen to very often. When I do put it on, it's an interesting artifact for sure, and I have to have all the stuff they've done, so I had to enter the collection. But yeah, don't really have a lot to say other than I'm kind of glad they changed, because if they continued in this vein, I don't think I could have went much. Like I said, interesting artifact. I know Aaron, the Metal Theologian, really holds this one in high regard, which I get it. I think this is something that right up his alley for sure. But yeah, it's not for me, but I do like it. I think it's good. It's super talented. It's just kind of cool to hear the inception of a band that would become, epic metal royalty. So
yeah. And they shifted a bit over albums for sure. You've got a couple of early '80s ones that are kind of more heavy, almost doomy. Then the later '80s albums sound a bit different. They get more thrashy by Abyss. And when they come back, there's some changes there. Spiral Castle doesn't really sound a ton like Atlantis Rise.
It feels like I skipped the order. Did I screw up the order of this?
Nope. It's Jurgen, Steve, me,
yep.
You.
Okay.
I think we're good.
I feel like I jumped track here, but no, all good.
I think we're
Jurgen.
Good.
Okay. German death metal. We had a death rip-off very early on.
Ah, so good.
With this.
Mm-hmm.
Then they released the second EP, The Eternal Fall, pretty much in the same vein. Then they released Curse, which was the same but different. A little bit slower, a little bit more not melodic, a little bit more catchy. And then all of a sudden, with Odium, they had their industrial influences, and from there they got to this.
I love that record.
I
love
that
clown
record
on
as
it.
well. Yeah,
Killing Joke all over the place.
Yeah, it is Killing Joke and Voivod, and it's even got the techno track on it, which sucks.
Yeah,
but it's a totally different band. The vocals all of a sudden changed. So Mark Greve, he did a good job on that.
He could actually, as sick as his voice is, he's a good singer. He did good both realms.
He took singing lessons before that one.
Mm.
He had singing lessons by the girl that sang on Into the Pandemonium. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No.
Now you know. So yeah, two completely different bands.
Totally different bands. Yeah.
Yeah. And the production on that one is killer.
Yeah. Clowns on a cover are always a bad sign.
100% agree there, Cap. It's not a complete deal breaker. It works out sometimes, but it's a flag. It's a flag.
I do like Socialized Hate by Atrophy, though, and that's got a clown on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm okay with When the Kite String Pops, and that's got a clown on it.
Yeah.
Back to Southern bands that Marty can't stomach.
Mr. Bungle, there you go. All right, Steve.
I've got a disturbing one for you.
Yeah. That would not, if I saw it on the rack, that would not come home with me. Probably not.
Same here. Yeah. There's
Captain K, I'm with you on this one, mostly.
Yeah. Aaron's in the chat, so Aaron knows the Rust cover has a weird clown on it. And I saw that album in the wild not long ago and couldn't bring myself to buy it. Stupid clown.
All right, Steve, what you got?
Well, I don't know. I think I'll go with this one next. Isa by Enslaved.
Love that album. That's a great record.
Yeah, I love this album too, but I mean, it doesn't sound anything like their first couple of albums. But I bought this, and when I put it in there, it was like, it was one of those albums kind of just was there, I guess. And then one night, I think was one of those nights with drank a little bit too much, smoked a little bit too much, and this album made all kinds of sense. But at first, I didn't really care for it. But good one.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, another band that has definitely gone through some changes over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know their catalog well at all. It's one band I need to spend some time on sometime.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't know too much about them either. I'm not really. I didn't start off with black metal. Actually, I was a death metal guy, and we death metal guys back in the '90s hated black metal. Which,
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys remember that kind of
Oh,
war. So but later started getting into a little bit of black metal, and I kind of like the earlier stuff, but this one's really polished and a little bit progressive as well. And I think I'm gonna play this right after this show because I haven't listened to this in a while, but I really like this album a lot.
you do, yeah. Yeah, I never avoided Enslaved. For whatever reason, their albums were always impossible to find wherever I was living. It always had to be a special order, and they were always kind of pricey compared to other things. So there was definitely a barrier just to finding their stuff. Even people didn't even have them to tape trade a lot of times. I got one or two of the albums tape trading and never did get the others. So it wasn't for a lack of trying that I don't know the Enslaved stuff.
Yeah, I think the first Enslaved album I heard was Frost, I want to say. And that's back around when it was released. And I remember listening to it and I was like, where's the bass? I mean, it was all trebly. And that's why I thought black metal was just real trebly and staticky. And I didn't understand the concept of what the second wave of black metal really was at that time. And I was looking more for the barbaric double bass and technical playing and that kind of stuff back in the 90s just didn't make any sense to me. But now it does, now it does. But that album really has some great production, some really cool and double bass work in there, and some keyboards or some synth in there that I really like, and the clean tone guitar in that's pretty dang good too. So. But at first, I was like, this doesn't sound anything like Frost, or I can't pronounce their debut. I'm not even going to try, or L.
Vicklinger Valdi. I don't know.
Right.
Whatever. I'm sure I nailed it. Roger was in here. He'd be this. He'd be like, nailed it. Yeah. As an accomplished bass player yourself, I'm sure you've had a long history in the metal world of being pissed off that your instrument is often buried on every album.
Yeah.
Not a lot of love for the bass, but if you take it in the mix, if you take it out, you would notice it not there.
Yes.
But
yes. Yeah. That as you said that, I was showing Jurgen a bootleg Enslaved album. It's a live one that was recorded in '95 while they're on tour with Marduk. But at the very beginning of the show, I don't know who it is, but they're asking the sound guys to turn up the bass, and I guess they're ignoring them. But I mean, if you listen to that bootleg, I'll show it real quick. If I can find it, I probably got it hidden.
In the early days, Grudela was playing a Rickenbacker with the distortion on it, and the Rickenbacker's got a very distinctive trebly tone, kind of metallic tone. Add distortion to it, it's a cool sound, but it often gets lost in the wash with the distortion on it.
Yeah. That's easy to do with bass anyway.
Yeah.
If you put too much distortion on it. I mean, I put a lot of distortion on there because I'm really influenced by Cliff Burton's sound, and I like playing with distortion. And a lot of my solos have distortion on it, but you could get lost real quick, especially if you're playing live. You'll get you won't even know there's a bass in there with that much distortion.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Alan.
All right. I just want to say, noticed a lot of new names in the chat tonight. So, welcome. Thanks for checking out the show. Hope you're having a good time. And yeah, as always, thanks to all the regulars who are in there too. Folks are mentioning tons of good bands and albums. We'll get to as many as we can. But yeah, very, very active in the chat. And again, welcome to all the new folks for hanging out.
Good to see you.
Let's see. CBN asked about this one a few minutes back. And it was going to be like one. Nobody would think of this, even though I've talked about the band from time to time. And darn if he didn't bring it up in the chat before I got to them. All right. The band started looking like this.
Cold Lake.
Cold Lake wishes they were these guys.
Their pants fit at least. That's a step up.
Yep. Anybody recognize who they are? If you don't, you retain your metal street cred.
That's not Discharge, is it?
Nope.
They looked kind of like that for a minute.
And they would a few years later, 2 albums later, they were doing this kind of thing. It's a European band, Shotgun Messiah. They started out very, very much in sort of glam sleaze territory. They're not bad at that style. For folks that can are okay with that late 80s glam stuff. Shotgun Messiah had more chops than some other bands. I'm not saying they're the greatest thing ever, but they weren't like Poison level bad. They did a second album. The debut album. Let's see, is there a picture of it here? There's not. The debut album got some attention. Yeah, here it is. Then the second album came out, right there around 91, where this stuff really fell flat on its face. And I kind of assumed that was the end of them. But then they reformed, 2 members reformed and went in a completely very violent, aggressive electronic direction. And the last time I talked about this on an episode, someone in the chat mentioned that part of it was early on, they had a connection to KMFDM. And when they said this, okay, this now makes a heck of a lot more sense. Because yes, this is very loud, angry, raw, driving, electronically fueled album. It's exactly the kind of thing. If you ever just want to go out and drive 150 miles an hour in the dead of night with your headlights off and just dare the universe to fuck with you, this is the album that's the soundtrack for that. It's weird that they changed so much and went in this direction. I love this album to death, and it's not a style I know much about. I don't listen to a lot of bands that do this kind of thing. But Violent New Breed by Shotgun Messiah is absolutely crushingly fast, heavy, caustic, killer stuff. To my knowledge, it's the last one they did. Maybe there were some other recordings later on I never came across, but this was kind of it. It's completely different from... the old Hairspray days, but they're okay at this style, better than average at this style. This just when I heard this for the first time, it blew me away and still does. So a weird entry, but one that definitely qualifies for drastically changing their sound. Shotgun Messiah, CBN, good call. Can't believe you pulled that one out in the chat before I could get to it.
Right on. All right. Well, when this album came out, I was a big fan of the debut. Loved it. Still love it to this day. And this is another one of those I put on and went, what the hell is going on? Is this the same band? And that would be DBC's Universe. Granted, when you were young, didn't have much money, you bought 1-2 tapes a month, maybe. Even if you didn't like something, you spun the shit out of it because that's what you bought. You got to live and die by it. I ended up liking this. And Jurgen would say, because the Voivod influence is in here. 100% agree. The Voivod in here is definitely, it took a minute to get my head wrapped around it, but when I did, it's very good. The music is very, very good. I think the one thing that was different was the vocals were more of a narration the entire time. And the weirder thing is, not only is it like a spoken word narration, they doubled the vocals, which is also it's just very weird the way they approach the vocals on this record. The debut, it feels like a crossover record. It's thrash for sure, but there's a bit of punk in it. Very energetic, very aggressive. Short songs, very aggressive songs with killer solos. The solos are still killer on here. It's just the band started to get more proggy and weird. Time signatures here and there would go in and out of whack. Very, very, very cool, interesting album. The band sadly broke up after this. Again, I don't know where they would have went after here. I think there was a few songs floating around, but it just never came out. But yeah. And again, this is another album that we talked about extensively on the Album Club. If you're bored one day, you should go through that library of stuff. There's a lot of conversation there for you. A lot of albums covered. But yep, DBC Universe.
Oh, that one gets a fair amount of love in recent years. People always seem to come back to that one. I'm not real familiar with it
now.
them.
People get it now, I think. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Jurgen.
A band that changed significantly with only the name staying the same. Got from this
Yep.
to this.
Yep.
Great
So-
call.
Pure grindcore, 365 songs on that album.
One for every day of the year.
Yeah. To that, which has... Is it still a death metal album? It has death metal vocals, of course.
Groovy. The groove, man.
But yeah, it is groovy. It has weird riffing. A little bit of Sonic Youth in there, maybe. Something like that from the riffing point.
Yeah.
And the same band name, but not a single band member from at least the side A of this recording
Yep.
is in there. So yeah.
Yeah, good point. And yeah, good call on the Sonic Youth influence by that point. They were Barney and guys were listening to a lot of different stuff and putting it into their sound on those mid and late 90s Napalm albums.
Cardiacs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep.
I do like almost all of the Napalm Death albums because yeah, in the later years they stayed a little bit the same. I even like the early to mid 90s stuff, which is not as weird as Diatribes. A little bit more average groovy stuff like the one with the red cover. I don't remember the name now. I like those albums. And they got back.
Word from the Exit Wound.
Word from the Exit Wounds. Yeah, right. And they got back to their not exactly that style, but a little bit more harmony corruption on Enemies of the Music Business. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that shit. I love my old my old CD.
Yeah. 365 songs.
Yep. You can play Suffer twice on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's a great call, Jurgen. I completely forgot about them, but yeah. And those late '90s albums, they're very different. They do have their fans. It was a different sound, but some folks do dig those. I like some of them more than others.
All right, Steve.
Okay, well, this band really, this artist, I should say, really changed his sound quite a bit from the 70s all the way on up. But in 1988, when this album came out, I was like, hell yeah, that'd be Danzig's debut. So when this piece of shit came out, I was like, I was like, oh, no, I don't even think there's Chuck Biscuits is not on here. John Christ, Neri Vaughn. It's these two.
They're all gone.
Guys. And I don't know. I remember going. We was going to go to a show. I think it was Ozzy headlining. It was Biohazard, Sepultura, and Danzig was going to be there promoting this piece of shit. And he didn't want to play in front of a bunch of rednecks because it was right in the middle of Branson, or right near Branson, Missouri. So he didn't show, but I'm kind of glad he didn't. But to be honest with you, I put this on maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and for some reason it clicked. There's a couple of tracks on here I actually liked. I think it was Serpentina, or Tia or whatever, or Come to Silver was actually the song it was, and it was a really good song. But I don't know what the heck he was thinking when he put this out. He just put that. What is it? I really dug Danzig 4. I thought this was really good, but there's some hints of this album in here.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah. And and I kind of like it. I can't remember what song it was. Maybe it was a Stalker song on this or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, Danzig.
No,
Black
good
Acid
balls,
Devil.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Black Acid Devil. I avoided the album for a long time, and it's been 20 years ago, I'll bet, at this point, at least 15. I was at a record show, and somebody had a used CD copy of it for like $7, and I hadn't found much at the record show. It was a pretty small local show. And so I figured, it's one of the few Danzig albums I don't have. So I told him, hey, would you take $5, for the Danzig CD? And let's face it, that's fair. I'm asking for $2 off a really shitty CD here. And he's like, nah, I don't think so, man. I can't let it go for that. I got to have 7. So I was just like, okay, thanks anyway. It was just like, I wasn't paying $7 for the damn thing. Fast forward 1 year later, at another record show, I see the same vendor looking through his CDs. He's got that same goddamn copy of Black Acid Devil still for $7, and I did not offer him $5 for it again. But I kind of looked at him, and he was looking at me. He's like, I remember you. You've got that Danzig CD, yep. And he's looking at me. He's like, it kind of clicked, and you could tell from the expression on his face. He's like, oh, please offer me $5 for it again. You could tell he knew that's the guy who would have given me $5. And now a year later, I can't even get that. You missed your boat, son. I gave you an out, and you held out for $2 more, and I hope he still has that goddamn CD.
Yeah, that album, we didn't even get the test back then. There's no YouTube or anything like that, or anything you could really see what it sounded like. And the radio station sure in the hell wasn't going to play that. So it was kind of a blind buy every time you got one of those type of albums, and that's what happened. And
yep,
get pretty pissed off. I listened to it and almost thought it'd probably be a good time to piss on the stereo because it was pretty bad.
It's interesting that it's kind of clicked with you now, though. That's cool. I haven't heard it in ages.
Yeah, getting older a little bit. I think there's a nostalgia about it. It has that 90s vibe, mid 90s vibe. I think is a really lost era of metal in that, because it was kind of getting buried with new metal and what have you. And so going to those more underground, because let's face it, that album's underground by the 90s or mid 90s. And so going back to some of those albums in the 90s, mid 90s, I'm kind of stuck on that stuff right now. I kind of got into it a little bit, but always reverted back to the 80s and early 90s stuff. But right now I'm just on a huge it's either the modern black speed metal bands or mid 90s death metal. That's my favorite stuff right now. So, and then touching that Black Acid Devil, it's kind of growing on me a little bit. A couple of songs on there. And I think it just depends on how loud I have the stereo. Actually, it sounds pretty good if you turn it up real loud. But if you have it just medium pace or anything, it's a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, that can make a difference for some albums for sure. And you're right, Danzig 4 does have some hints of what was going to come. Yeah. Didn't know it at the time, but there's some telltale signs.
Yep.
All right, Alan.
Oh, let's see. We haven't talked about many power or traditional metal bands. Let's do one of these. Most of us, think of Gamma Ray as classic German power speed metal in the vein of Halloween and Stratovarius and all these acts. But early on, long before this album, this is, right from their classic streak. Early on, Gamma Ray kind of floundered around looking for a sound. Kai had gotten out of Halloween, and he kind of took some time to explore, his inner child. He took a long swim in Lake U, or what other kind of hippie bullshit you want to come up with. Those first couple of Gamma Ray albums, they have some decent songs on them, but they're wildly inconsistent. In terms of style, it was not clear that the Gamma Ray project was going to eventually come around and do what Kai does best, which is just fantastic high-speed German metal. You listen to Sigh No More and Heading for Tomorrow, and half of Insanity and Genius, and it's a band that is, I don't know if they were trying to find their sound or just didn't want to settle on a sound yet, but there's a lot of weirdness in those tracks. Nothing crazy. I mean, they're not like experimenting with tribal drumming and flute solos or anything. But
Korn.
they're not going off. It's not like Roots era Sepultura meets Korn meets neo folk or anything. But there's they're covering 70s Queen songs and Nazareth stuff. He's just trying other things. You almost got the sense he was deliberately trying to avoid sounding too much like Halloween. Yeah, he wanted a break from it. That's fair enough. But at least for my money, Gamma Ray doesn't really get going until he finally spanks his inner monkey, or again, whatever kind of Zen shit he needed to work out. You got out of it. And by album 4, Land of the Free, it moves forward really well.
I don't think Spank Your Inner Monkey is. I don't think that's in the hippie literature. I think that's a different thing.
Different type of monkey, maybe.
Yeah, Spank the monkey, whatever.
Now that is a different monkey. That's your outer monkey, I think.
Oh,
the inner and the outer monkey are not the same. Unless you've gotten kicked really hard in a certain place, maybe that. We're getting off track.
Sorry.
But yeah, so Gamma Ray. So again, we tend to think power metal bands are often kind of consistent. There's not necessarily a lot of change, but Gamma Ray is one that did fiddle with some other styles a bit early on in their career before they settled in. Sorry, Nick.
Spank the Monkey isn't a Peter Gabriel song.
That's the first thing that come to my mind when he said that.
Yeah, me too. I had to the 16-year-old.
I'm not sure I'm sure Peter Gabriel has worn a giant monkey costume on stage at some point, though.
Right.
That absolutely happened on some Genesis tour back in the day. It had to.
Yep.
Okay. Gamma Ray, done. Marty, we'll pass it over to you.
Yep. Another major disappointment in my life. It all goes back to groove entering bands that shouldn't have it. Even though this band did have a little of it in their sound because they were so simplistic in the style of death metal they played. But talking about, no, it's not GF. This is Gorefest. And when this thing came out, I ran to the store as quickly as I could to buy a copy of this because the two albums that came before it, False in particular, forever a favorite. This album sucks. 100%. No way, no matter how you slice it. If you like groove metal, maybe you're going to dig this. And I have owned this CD now 4 different times. Every time I give it away, it comes back to me. It's like that Discharge record that we were talking. Was it Brave New World was the name of that turd? I broke one of them on a stream. It was harder than you would think to break a vinyl. Just try to bend it and snap it. Yeah. Anyway, this album is always, and I finally said, okay, I'm not giving this away anymore. I'm going to keep it. And in fact, I still think I have another copy in the other room, to be honest with you. Or did I give that away? I don't know. I should have sent it to Alan. I should have done that, but I have not done that. But anyway, False was an amazing album. My band got our namesake from the lead-off track on that awesome album. And then they put out this. Erase, follow me to where the real fun is. Oh God, this is bad. It's just bad. And they were kind of riding a wave at this point too. And I don't know, Jurgen, was this popular? And I mean, I think they had a bit of a push. The nuclear blast, they were kind of riding a wave. But did it stick? Was this looked at more favorably in Europe than it was in the U.S.?
They were massive on that tour.
Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? Is this just a me thing again,
no?
No, this is universally panned as being garbage. Steve is quiet.
I don't know. I to be honest, I've never heard that album. I've only heard their first two.
Well, if I have the other copy in the other room, I'll send that with the Black Star, and then all will be right in the world. If I don't have it, then you won't see it in the package.
And Steve will never come back on the channel again.
He'll never talk to me again.
I so wish I still had. I've mentioned it before, but I don't know where the heck I got it, but when that came out, somehow I ended up with one of those gigantic posters of the cover art. I'm talking like, like the 4 foot by 2.5 foot
of this cover art,
of that cover art. Of
wow, what a shitty poster that is.
It probably came with like a CD order. It was like the company threw in like a free promo poster. But yeah, I mean, the damn thing was massive. And, I was in college at the time. So, we plastered it up on the wall just for the heck of it. But yeah, for a while, my room was adorned with, the giant Erase. And then I heard the album. I hadn't heard it when I got the poster. Then I heard it and just like, I got to get that poster off the wall. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, this giant GF on here, it isn't Gorefest. It to their fans, it might as well say "Get Fucked." As far as I'm concerned, that's the name of this album is "Get Fucked."
Yeah,
but bad. All right, Jurgen, I'm glad to. I'm forever. I'll never come around on that record. Never.
Yeah.
They had a bad run, and then their La Mutre or whatever was a step up, and then they ended with Rise to Ruin is a great record. Mm-hmm. That is like a return to form. That album rule. Stupid cover, clown skulls on the cover, but you know what? The album is awesome. If you see it in their shop, pick it up. It's a banger.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Mark, you mentioned that Discharge album. Funny quick story. There's a copy of that keeps circulating through one of the local stores here. And you can tell what's happening. That somebody sees this like, ooh, Discharge album, because that's not the kind of thing that shows up here locally very often. So it'll be there for a week or two, and then it's gone. And about a month later, it'll be back. Yeah. And it'll sit there for a few weeks, and then it'll be gone. But a couple of weeks later, it's right back. You can tell like half the headbanging population of the local area has bought that CD thinking it was going to be something, and every damn one of them have brought it back to the same store to get rid of.
I got a copy of it used on vinyl the first time I bought it. I remember like, oh, cool, Discharge. I pick it up, and I flip it over and look at the back. I'm like, they look like the Damned during the Phantasmagoria era. And I'm like, yes, Discharge, cool. And yeah.
Yep. And I'll admit, I almost fell for it too. Like, I saw it at the store, and so I was like, "Oh, Discharge! I don't have that album." And I was looking, I was just like, "My spider sense is tingling." I think I couldn't remember the name. I was like, "This might be the one I'm not supposed to buy."
Don't do it.
It was kind of like, it's like, do you touch? If I touch it, I'm stuck with it. It's just like, maybe I better leave that here. And then I checked it outside. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't buy that. Because I was that close to getting sucked into part of the cycle. It's going to be funny because eventually it's going to land at the store and nobody will buy it. And I'm going to be like the last person locally that hasn't owned it. Anyway, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Oh, no. All good. Side stories always welcome. Jurgen.
Let's go to one of Marty's other favorite bands and favorite follow-up albums.
Oh, boy.
The band started with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One great thrashing death metal album. The follow-up, Bitterness, is awesome as well. A little bit of a change in there. A little bit more melodic, but still pure fucking death metal. On the third album...
Oh, you have it still?
Ooh,
there it is.
I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah. I purged mine.
They fell for the Entombed route.
It failed.
I kind of like the album, but it is not Wolverine Blues by no means. It is just a bad copy of Wolverine Blues.
Yeah.
Um,
It's more like Rabid Weasel Blues or Fat Chipmunk
They-
Blues.
After that, they did the right thing. They changed their name, and they released that.
Really?
It's the same band, the same four guys, and this is a pure fucking stoner rock album.
Ah,
And
interesting.
I fucking love it. Volume 1 by Zebulon. If you're not a stoner rock fan, you probably won't like that. And I like the name of the record label. It's called "I Used to Fuck People Like You in Prison" Records. So yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know they changed names and did another album in a different style, but that's cool.
Yeah, they released one album and one 10-inch EP, which I also have in the other room. Yeah.
Did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, same band.
Yeah. Swallow the Snake is one I saw in the used store, and I did get trapped by it because I really like Bitterness.
Me too.
I like the debut album too, but I really like the second album, Bitterness. And I saw that one in the used store one day. So I was like, ooh, third Desultory album. Cool. But looking at the cover, I was like, something looks wrong here.
The logo change, a cool logo, changed
Even
to a
just the-
font is suspect right away.
even though just the cover image, I remember holding it in the store. I'm just like, this may be more of a coin flip than I want it to be, but nah, I gave them $7 for it. Didn't know. I mean, again, there had been a lineup change. They lost one of their main songwriters. Didn't know any of that. And paid a price. Still don't have those $7 back. I miss those $7.
They should have stayed at home and spanked their inner monkey on the Swallow the Snake era.
Yeah. My joke was always that they should have spit instead of swallowed.
With that, Steve, what do you got?
Okay, so it's turned into I hate this album with Steve, but back in the mid '90s, this is one of the bands that I got this album and fell in love with it, and every album they put out, freaking loved. And then I think this is 2011, something like that.
Yeah.
So, did you guys already show this one or show Opeth? Okay. So, yeah, I love this one. This is one of those albums I love to smoke a few too and kick back. And then when this album came out, I was excited and I hadn't heard it yet because I don't like to listen to anything online, especially an album I really want. So I try to avoid listening to it. And then I got this, and I put it in the player. I still haven't made it past track 1. And you think, I still haven't. I can't do it. You'd think, since I'm a bass player, I love the bass playing in this. But they have the damn bass mix so freaking loud on this thing. I don't even know what to think. So, but Opeth, Sorceress. There's some good songs, or not good songs. It's got good riffs on that first track, but the bass just freaking drowns everything out, and then the clean vocals really pissed me off on it. And but it's one of those albums that they really changed their sound for the worse with this one.
Still talented, but yeah, I'm with you. I don't care about that.
I like the other stuff around that kind of jazzy feel or prog rock feel that one has. The other two, I think, or 2 or 3 they have, but that one is a piece of crap.
All right.
Yeah, I like some of the songs on Sorceress, but the sound ruins it. Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, I think the day I put that in there, I spent forever trying to adjust my EQ, trying to get that bass down in it. But,
All right, Alan.
All right, which direction to go in here? Yeah, let's mention this band. I love this band. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but they're another one that really are the poster children for we change our sound all the time. You will never know what we're going to sound like next. It is Psy from Japan. I picked Hail Horror Hail to show just because I think this was the album that really broke them out as being a band that you would never be able to, figure out where the heck they were going to jump next. Before this, they were already showing, lots of signs of experimentation, drifting away from, their black metal roots. This album is part black metal and part really weird indie movie soundtrack and part sounds that just are put together to make things happen. Again, it is not for everybody, but I've always enjoyed exploring Psy and seeing where they go. Some albums are better than others. They have some that are, much heavier, thrashier. They have some that really lean into more, electronics and synths. They have albums that, the last or latest one, not the remake thing that came out this year, but the album before that, Shiki, kind of went back to, their really early black metal sound.
Yeah.
It has great guitar work on it.
Yeah, good album.
They have some albums where the production is so messed up, it's really hard to figure out what in the world they're trying to do. So, not every album's, top notch, but it's a really cool catalog. I don't necessarily always follow a band throughout their whole catalog. I'll get the albums I like. I'm okay with incomplete discographies for a lot of bands. Psy is one of the few bands where I've got all the studio albums because they all offer up something a little bit different. Really cool band, but you got to be able to keep up with a lot of weirdness. The Mirai really just defines odd music in black metal. He's been doing it a long time and he still finds ways to make it different and interesting. So Psy had to be on my list.
All right. Well, people have been calling this one out in the chat and finally getting to it. Let's go Dark Throne.
There it is. Yep.
You want to talk about death metal from back in the era? Man, I love this album, worship this album. Still to this day, I love this album. And I bought this right around the time it came out on tape. Good old Camelot Music, had the hookup, spun the shit out of it. Probably got eaten in my dad's cassette player in his truck once. Fixed it. And then one day I walked into Camelot Music again, and what did I see in the Dark Throne section? A Blaze in the Northern Sky. I'm like, awesome. Coming home with me. I'm looking at it. Is this a demo? I get home, hit play on it. Is this a demo? I don't like this. This sucks. What the hell happened to Dark Throne? But I kept at it, kept spinning it, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're going for the battery thing. But did this come before Soulside Journey? Because, we didn't have the internet back then.
Yep.
I had no fucking clue. I didn't even know that this was the first album, to be honest. So it must have came before Soulside Journey. Well, no, that didn't, obviously. But still, this day, this is my favorite Dark Throne record, and I love the Unholy Trilogy. I hate them. Then they went cross-punk for a few albums, which those albums are fun for a week. After that, I don't find myself listening to them again. And they've struggled since then. For me, anyway. I mean, they're still greatly appreciated by metal fans everywhere. I keep buying their albums. I say I'm not gonna, but I keep coming back. And actually, their last album is a step in a better direction. The songs are more... There's more going on in the songs. They're trying a bit harder. People are saying they went classic heavy metal. I hear the influence, but it's still a very convoluted Dark Throne way of approaching heavy metal. You know what I mean? Still, endless respect for the band. We've got a very drunken 3-hour discussion on the stream that people either loved or hated. Myself, Austin Lunn, and Ben Brain Smasher, and Roger. Poor Roger. He wasn't drinking that night.
I leave you guys alone for 1 week.
He watched the Dumb Americans just degenerate into drunken idiots. But it's the way it goes. It's the way it happens.
I believe it's known as Drunk Throne among the
Yeah.
heavy metallurgy fan base.
The Drunk Throne stream, yes. But yep, Head Be Shown, great band.
I have a similar story on that, a similar experience with that, because Dark Soulside Journey is my favorite because it's a death metal album.
It's
And
a great
then,
death metal album. Evil.
Then when I
Good.
first heard it was Blazing the Northern Sky. I remember listening to that, and I loved the intro. And then when it kicked on, I was like, "What in the hell is this?" Oh, it's that black metal shit. That's what the exact words was. And I couldn't stand it, and it took me, till watching the 13 Stone Cold Black Metal Classics, which got me into the VC before I took another listen to it, and then I started hearing what everybody was hearing. But at the time, back in the 90s, that was dog shit. But I was like, well, I guess Dark Throne's going to be a one album wonder. And they had the Soulside Journey is just fantastic. It's one of my favorites. It's in my top 10.
Yeah. Easy. Yeah, definitely. All right, Jurgen.
You've waited for that. A band that has changed styles like their underwear. You got from this
Yep.
only in a couple of years you got to this.
Mm-hmm.
Another album that I was mad when I bought. I hated it. Hated it.
I loved it from the beginning.
I like it now, but I hated it then. I didn't want rock and prog in my, there was prog in Voivod already, but the rock element, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so they started with that one. This is a little bit punky. Everybody knows that album. A little bit Venom in that, a little bit Motorhead.
Yeah.
With the second one, they got really, really thrashy.
Yeah.
And they started to change with Killing Technology. And from Killing Technology, it was only 2 albums to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and after that, they got back a little bit, but still kept the style of that. And since then, they kept changing and changing and changing until their last 2 albums, their last 3 albums. And they have found their sound, and they got every element in that, and it sounds very concise, I think. So Voivod still, my favorite band, and I love everything they did, every fucking song. The only 2 albums that are a little bit weaker are the ones with Jason Newsted on it. Because you can hear Jason Newsted playing that shit, and he is not Blackie. He has a different bass sound, and the fact that they manufactured the albums together from old Piggy guitar demos doesn't help that either. But other than that, I love the band.
Yep.
They can do what they want.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, they would be the other big poster child, I think, for this topic for sure.
Oh, yeah.
They're a good example for me. Again, I infamously have trouble with the Voivod catalog. There's a really good example of where it's hard for me to explore the Voivod catalog because there is so much change in it. That I might hear one album I kind of like, but then there's not another album like it. And the next one I try out, I don't like so much. So... yeah, that's where changing the sound makes it really tough to explore. It's like, and people will tell me different things because they like different parts of the catalog. Folks like, you should jump forward to Car Tours. And they're like, no, you got to go back and hear War and Pain. I'm just like, okay, I guess I just have to listen to them all and figure out which ones I like and don't like. But that's going to take a while.
And I know it's a tough sell for you too, Alan. You struggle with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some I like better than others, but yeah.
Let's do a crash course for Alan. Next week's show on Friday will be a Voivod deep dive.
I am actually out of town next Friday, so if you and Marty and some folks wanted to tackle that, that would be a great time to
Didn't we
do
do
it.
that already? Didn't me and King do that?
No, we've not done Voivod.
You're shitting me.
I'm not. I've been. I figured it'd be you, Jurgen, and maybe Jeff Wagner might tackle that at some point. Yeah, I have no business on a Voivod stream, so that'd be a good one for the three of you to.
Right on. Yeah, Wade says, how convenient.
Yeah, I'd love to be here, guys, but I think I've got a turkey in the oven. My inner monkey needs spanking, something bad. Bad little monkey lately, I tell you what. Take it behind the woodshed and whack it a few times. Yeah, when I say it that way, it does sound bad.
Yeah, that's better. That's all right, Steve.
So one of my favorite death metal bands, really, the drummer's a local guy, and then I was really excited about that, and then I was excited about the album coming out, and then when I first heard it, I was honestly pretty disappointed in it at first.
Me too.
And that would be The Sound of Perseverance by Death, and it's grown on me. I love this album now, but back when it first came out, I couldn't stand Chuck's vocals on it.
Yeah.
For one, it didn't sound otherworldly, and this one's just a little bit more proggier than I thought Death should be. Symbolic before this was freaking killer, but it took actually this album, Control Denied, to get me into this album because I wanted to hear more of that sound. And then when I finally got into this album is due to Control Denied. And I believe it's the same drummer, different bass player, Steve Gregorio. But
Richard Christie on drums on that Control Denied, right?
Yep. Richard Christie was in a local band called Public Assassin around here. They had Steve Childers from Black Witchery. And they got together. At one point, I think they moved to Florida and changed the name from Public Assassin to Burning Inside. And then somehow he got into this band, which was really cool. And not a lot of locals do that. Only big bands around here would be King's X or Manila Road. I think more like 200 miles away from here, but in Kansas. But yeah, this album right here. When I first heard it, couldn't stand it. Now I love it. The only time I listen to it is if it's snowing, and it don't snow a lot around here anymore for some reason. But Death, Sounds of Perseverance. I can't even talk now because this beer is really hitting me now.
Perfect.
Yep. No, Ryan's Death's a great example. I mean, all their album they changed on every album, some more than others, but yeah, there's differences throughout their catalog.
Yeah, I think their sweet spot for me is around spiritual healing, human, and symbolic. I do like individual thought patterns, but I don't like the production on it. I think that the drums sound like shit on it, but I do like the songwriting. But yeah, this album, it was the vocals that really killed it for me at first, and of course now it's one of my faves. It's one of my ones I go to because I burned myself out on the first three albums pretty early on. I kind of spun them quite a bit, and then moved on to the later stuff, and now I'm more towards that era of Death more than Scream Bloody Gore or Leprosy or anything like that. I love those albums, don't get me wrong, but I listen to them so damn many times I don't even think I have to listen to them anymore. But it's nice to revisit them. I'm not saying I'm not going to. It's probably once a year now.
Yeah, makes sense.
But
yeah, I've just revisited all the Death stuff lately too. Yep. Yep. Marty and I might be tackling that discography in the not so distant future. We'll see how that comes out. But yeah, it's if folks haven't heard, Decibel has a biography of Chuck coming out in November, written by David Gelke. So yeah, we're hoping that maybe we can get David and/or Albert on to talk about it before the book gets released. It's available for pre-order. They sent out an update today. I think they have less than 200 left for pre-order. So if you really want the book, probably a good idea to go ahead and get a copy reserved, because it looks like they're selling them awfully fast.
Yeah.
And should we say that we might be having something a little special happen during that?
No, we better be quiet about that.
Better not say about that? Okay.
Yep. We're working on some other things to go along with that.
Yeah.
We'll see it. But yeah, they got to come together yet.
All right. Alan.
All right. Let's
Oh,
see.
wait. One thing.
Oh,
This is a story only that I really care about, but this week, as a matter of fact, my son and I went to go to the grocery store. We get in the car. I was going to put in a CD. And he's like, Dad, can I pick something today to write? I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever you want. Go for it. Because my son's 15. He's a metalhead. He's on the journey, right? He said, yeah, there's an album I've been wanting to check out. I'm like, what album? Death, Scream, Bloody Gore. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm like, is that okay? I'm like, yeah. I couldn't dial it up on the phone quick enough. Got it on there. And he's like, this the whole way to this. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, what do you think of this? He's like, this is awesome. I'm like, swish. I just hope he doesn't read the lyrics, because there's some stuff in there that probably don't need to be seen by him. But man, cool. He's branching out, and I got to thank bands like Monogarm for introducing him to the more grim vocals, and he's listened to my band, so he likes some death vocals, and now it's starting to branch out, and he's starting at the beginning. I don't know if he's got one friend that's in it. I cracked open a watermelon today, and the house was fine, and now all of a sudden there's 15 million fruit flies in the basement. I'm about as far from the kitchen as I could be, and there's fruit flies in here. Anyway, sorry. We're slap happy again. I don't know what's going on. I don't even drink anymore. Here we go. Alan.
Yeah. Your kid has to be the only person on the planet who discovered death by way of Monogarm.
I don't know if that
is not a metal journey that's traveled very much.
He's got a buddy that I took them to the mall the other day, and the kid come out of his house wearing a mortician shirt. So I think his buddy is feeding him some stuff. And
Gotcha. Yeah. But still, like, which was the first extreme band you checked out? Monogarm? Huh?
Yeah.
That answer is not popular on the quiz, but it's
no, definitely not.
All right, let's pick something else here. Oh, this band changed pretty significantly. They always stayed death metal, but they definitely went from one end of the spectrum to the other. It is Gorguts. Early on, Gorguts is good.
I love that album.
Yeah, this one's very, very good. I like it more than the debut. Both the first two albums, they're 90s death metal. They've got a strong Florida appeal, of course, drawing from that. Doing the style just fine. Of course, after this one, they kind of drop off the radar for several years. And when they come back, they came back with Obscura, and an album that is still really hard for many people to wrap their heads around. It's a crazy, dissonant, howling mad death metal album, and they've stayed close to that. They've pulled it back some, but even the albums after that, From Wisdom Till Hate and Colored Sands, they explore. They are not afraid to try some different things within a death metal context. So while these early albums are good, these are pretty straightforward death metal albums from the early 90s that they did. And yes, Steve, I like this one quite a bit too. But it's nothing like what they were doing, 5-6 years later. Granted, the lineup's very, very different by the time you get to those albums. But yeah, LeMay took the band in a completely different corner of the death metal underground and did some really cool stuff. I like the later albums. It's still death metal, but it's really, really different kind of death metal. So I felt Gorguts should definitely be noted for, the massive changes that they brought to their sound.
All right. Good pick. And we're going to go this route. Beherit.
Oh, yep. Good call.
This is a band I don't know. I gotta say, my favorite Beharit album is Engram. When they got back together, they went back to the drawing down the moon style, but better musicianship. But it's less juvenile. The songs are really good, catchy. He really, whoever he's got playing in the band, they understood that the Beharit sound needed to be polished up a bit, upgraded a bit, slightly more modernized, but still have the old, blunt finish, barbarity to it. This band started out Oath of Black Blood. That's a tape I bought when it came out, and I hated it. I still don't like it. I never listened to that record. It's a shit mess. It's just stone kids making noise. Drawing Down the Moon, I like. It's a very juvenile album, but I do like it. Then they went, the album before this, I don't remember if this one came first or the other one, but these are completely non-metal. He went from Drawing Down the Moon to complete synth music. And it's not even really, it kind of takes the simplicity of Drawing Down the Moon and strips all the metal away from it and replaces it with synth. It's very simplistic, kind of plodding, boring. I've got both of the CDs, and I don't know why I keep them. I never listen to them. But yeah, it just isn't there's a market for this. People love that stuff. I don't know if many people are clamoring for the synth era of Beharit. I think he's back doing it again. I don't know. But Engram for me is peak Beharit. This is a sidestep in their catalog. And I think when these came out, they were expensive to get here in the States. This is Spine Farm. They never showed up in the stores. I had to order them overseas, or maybe they came in the Relapse catalog. I don't remember how I got these, but if you like synth music, maybe this will appeal to you. I put them both on. I've spun them both a couple times, and I like some synth music, and there's not enough going on here for me to be really excited about them. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, it's a guy behind the band that has gone through different musical changes, and great. He's following what's inspiring him at the time. He's not a great musician. I'm just gonna. That's maybe a lame thing to say, but yeah, I like the cult style. I like the Drawing Down the Moon, that whole cult era. But he's gotten better, and now he's back into synth again. I don't know, but yep, Beharit. That had to be. He's made changes over the years for sure.
Oh yeah, really good example.
Jurgen.
So, I mentioned that earlier. Now you've got one of the fastest bands on the planet during that time, and their singer stepped aside to do this. One of the slowest records for that time.
The other end of the spectrum for that guy, yeah.
Yeah, yep. Totally. And this is a total fucking early death doom mess. It sounds murky. It is. At some point, this doesn't have even any structure to it. Mm-hmm. And not too much later, they released that one, which sounds totally different. Yep. This is a pure stoner rock album.
With Fozzie Bear on vocals.
Yeah. I love his vocals, so yeah. Lee Dorian changed over time, but since they released that one, they stayed pretty much the same, apart for their last studio album, which harkens back a little bit to their beginnings. So their last album, the name escapes me right now. Their last album is a little bit more death doom, but I love the cathedral stoner area. So yeah,
I really did like Soul Sacrifice. That was good, and I liked that End Time album was really heavy. What were you gonna say, Steve? I'm sorry.
Oh, he just showed my favorite album of 1993, number one favorite album. And if you ever hear some of the songs I post on my stuff that I've written, post on my YouTube channel, I get compared to Lee Dorian quite a bit, and it's because of that album right there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right on. You're up, Steve.
Oh, it is me. Okay, so when this album came out, I didn't know how to feel about it, and it wasn't because of the cameo in it. It just, for me at the time, I didn't think um, it belonged on a record like this. And also, I'm a big Tony Martin vocals and fan, but on this album, his vocals kind of sounded nasally, I guess, a little bit. So, yeah, Black Sabbath's Forbidden, 1995, I think it is. I can't remember. But yeah, this is one of those albums that at first, when it first came out, I didn't care for it at all. And it's another one of those albums that grew with me over time. Actually, this remaster I like a lot better than the original mix. I think it sounds a lot better. But when it first came out, the songwriting was I was really looking forward to the powerful Tony Martin style vocals, and it really wasn't there either. But yeah, Black Sabbath's Forbidden.
Yeah, another one that's tough to love.
Tough to love. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Alan. Good pick.
Let's see here. This band changed their style a lot, and people tend to focus on just like the first album because it's the most metal, but I actually like pretty much all of their stuff. Talking about Cemetery, this is one of their later ones. Everyone, Evil Shade of Grey, has that kind of, second tier cult classic, Swedish death status. Even by the second album, they were already rapidly moving away from that style. And then by the third album, Black Vanity, they were getting into, a more stripped down kind of gothic-y doom, which I love a lot. Black Vanity is just a personal favorite album of mine. Sundown at that point, they kind of started to settle in a little bit. Sundown sounds a good amount like Black Vanity. And this one, I always forget the title of this bloody album. And it's really hard to read because the font. Last Confessions. Last Confessions kind of is starting to lean a little more electronic in the same style, but it's
Still
done
good.
really well. Yeah, it's
like
got a
it.
great set of really catchy songs, different enough from the previous two albums to be interesting. So it's not just Sundown really felt like Black Vanity Part 2. This one feels like its own album. So yeah, they're another band that there's a lot of variation across at least the first three albums, and even here towards the end of their catalog, you still get something a little bit different. Definitely worth checking out Beyond Evil Shade of Grey if that's the only one that somebody has heard, and you don't mind again venturing into some different territories. The Cemetery catalog has a lot of good albums in it. And there's nothing wrong with Sundown. It's just that that one they didn't change at all, and so it just feels like a continuation of the previous.
Dave says he's never heard anything past Ozzy Sabbath. I'm scolding him right now. Sorry.
There's still a lot of folks that that is the thing. But well, Dave, there's a lot of good post Ozzy Sabbath out there for sure.
Absolutely.
The Dio era, oh my God, magic, pure magic.
Yeah, and like Steve said, Tony Martin sounds great on a lot of the albums.
Yeah,
I was just sure. Okay, yes, maybe they're not quite on the same level as the older ones, but there's a lot of good music there for folks to check out. And there's Ian Gillan's appearance with them too. Yep.
Yeah, this album is another one that kind of sounds completely different from everything else. And I remember this was they were called Purple Sabbath, or people would call it Purple Sabbath back in the day. But
yeah, all right.
I got a lot of Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath's probably one of my favorite bands. I at one point I didn't think they could put a bad album out until Forbidden came out, but actually, I'll take it back. 13 was much worse.
Yeah, there's a few Sabbath albums I'm not nuts about, but CBN, I agree too. Dehumanizer is underrated and monstrously heavy. It's a slow, heavy, angry album. Really good one. It was just such a Dio came back. They made the album. Dio ran away again. It all happened so fast. The album kind of was blink and you missed it.
Yep.
I've seen Black Sabbath on the Forbidden tour. They played my hometown, and I saw Black Sabbath in front of 400 or 500 people. So yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, people mentioned this in the chat, and we'll go here. Paradise Lost, 1 second. The change happened before this, but between Draconian Times and this one, they went a lot more synthy and a lot more poppy. But it's still has a rock vibe to it. I've told the story a million times. This actual CD spent a good 20 minutes in the garbage can after I got it. It was sent as a promo. You see the cutout. I couldn't even salvage the CD case because it's got the sticker on it. So I just threw the whole thing in the trash. But I had to review it. And I'm like, shit, I better pick this thing up and I got to give it a better spin. About the third time through it, I'm like, I love this. It's so damn catchy. Nick's vocals are great on it. His vocal melody lines are very soulful. A lot of emotion in his singing. A lot of emotion in this music. You know, Dark or Paradise Lost, no matter what direction they went. I have not heard the Host album, which I think is all electronic. But
it is. It's quite good. If you like
it?
1 second, you probably would like Host.
Yeah. They just have a dark tone to them, and it just kind of taps into a melancholy that works really well for them. And yeah, you know, like Draconian Times, I struggle with that too, but I end up loving that record as well. So I should have given this a better chance immediately, but like I said, I put it on. It took about halfway and went, nope, what the hell, in the garbage can, right straight. In fact, I think I cracked it from doing that. But anyway, yeah, this is a band that has been on the change. They've kind of come back around. Death Unites, what the hell is it? The name of that album? The Death Unites Us album.
Yeah,
Which
something
the hell
unites us, something divides us.
Yeah, something that's where they started to kind of come back to. I'm a big fan of Gothic. I love that album. You know, the weaker drums aside, I've always loved that record. And I struggled with Anathema's changes over the years too, but because I loved Darren White's vocals, I love that early doomy Death Doom style. But I came around on Paradise Lost, and they really do have a wealth of really good, well-written music in their catalog. And they were not afraid to take chances and try new things.
Yeah.
And it really did elevate them to a much bigger, wider audience, too. So,
yeah. All of those Peaceful 3 bands changed dramatically over the course of their first several albums.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, that I think you're right. That's like the big change for Paradise Lost. But even Gothic to Shades of God is pretty different.
Yeah.
And Shades of God to Icon is pretty different.
Yeah.
Draconian Times is kind of like Icon. There's not a whole lot of change there, but yeah, then they're off to electronic land for a few albums. And even the more recent albums, I've only heard a couple of them, but like Medusa and Obsidian do not sound alike. They're back to heavier death stuff, but Medusa's a lot doomier, a lot slower. Obsidian's a lot more varied. So yeah, they actually have an album coming out. September, October? It's soon. It'll be. I'm interested to hear what they do with that one. It's pretty. I don't know their whole catalog. It's a pretty long one, but they have more hits than misses in it.
Yeah. All right, Jurgen, you are back on top. What you got?
Yeah, I had Paradise Lost in my pile as well. I only had the first three. They went from a primitive death doom metal band to Gothic, which was different. It was still primitive. Then they went to Shades of God, which is an album. No other album sounds like Shades of God. I don't know what to compare it with. Then they, with Icon and Draconian Times, they exploded here. And with 1 second, the one Marty showed just showed, they were really big. And they headlined over Creator here in Germany.
Wow!
So Creator was supporting Paradise Lost on that tour.
Wow!
So,
have you seen the Creator movie yet, Jurgen?
No.
Is that appearing in theaters in Germany or?
They just had the premiere at one theater last week.
Huh. Okay.
But I'm not going to the cinema anyway, so I wait until the DVD comes out or Blu-ray or whatever.
Right on. Yep.
So yeah, another one that was mentioned early on in the chat.
Yep.
Go from here.
Oh no.
Oh fuck. Marty showed the commercial album.
Yep. I got the Shark Records cassette with both of them on the same tape.
Ah,
also.
okay. I've got the original.
Nice.
Cool.
But I don't have that in my collection anymore.
No.
I just got my ticket. So within what was it? A little bit over a decade, they went from here to here.
What a hot steaming pile of garbage that Roots album was. I'm sorry. It just people that like it, cool, but no, it was not for me.
No. This is just not a good album. And on that was the last tour. I maxed it with the guys, and they sucked. So yeah, I have to show that because it says you always considered Sepultura a thrash metal band. No. It says let's do it Brazilian style, death metal.
Yep.
I always considered Sepultura death metal because they did not. I mean, there are a lot. The vocals were so much guttural compared to all the other thrash bands, and I know, yeah.
But if you followed them during the years since the early stuff came out, they became more thrashy on and more technical on the Schizophrenia. Then you've got, of course, Beneath the Remains, and you can hear a little bit more of a groove in Arise already.
Yeah.
Although everybody thinks about Arise, the song, which is pretty fast, listen to the rest of the album. There's a lot of groove and mid-tempo stuff on that. And from there, I think this Chaos AD is their transitional album.
Totally.
Because,
Still good, but starting to get simplistic, more simplistic.
Yeah, right. And I still love it as well. But after that, Roots, no.
Yeah.
I have that damn album. I don't know when the last time it's probably been 10 years since I listened to it last.
Yeah,
sometimes it feels good to throw things in the trash can. It really does. Sometimes you just need to do it for yourself. You do it for yourself is what you do. Yeah.
Well, if I did, I'd have an empty spot in my. Well, I don't have anything past Max Cavalera stuff. I don't even know what the other stuff sounds like after Max left.
It's not bad. What I've heard isn't terrible. There's some good stuff in it, and Derek Green does a good job, but I just don't. I haven't heard enough I don't give a shit. Past Our Eyes, I don't give a shit. I do like Chaos AD. I liked it when it came out, but when I'm going for Sepultura, it is not that album. It's not. No. It's everything before it, but not that one.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Schizophrenia is my go-to. That's my favorite. One of my favorite thrash metal albums is Schizophrenia.
Beneath the Remains is the first one I ever heard, so that's mine. That's the one. That's the one for me. I love Arise too, but yeah.
And as much as I love the first couple, I was hesitant when I heard that the Cavalera brothers were re-recording the first couple. I was hesitant, and I normally don't do that. I went on YouTube and listened to when Morbid Visions came out, re-recorded. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a laugh. Listen to one song, and I don't know which song it was, Crucifixion or something like that, and I was fucking blown away how they did it. Those 3 re-recordings are really, really awesome.
Mm-hmm. They still know what to do. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. That's a rare case of someone going back and redoing it. It's just like, yeah, this actually worked out fine.
All right. Great pick. Steve.
Okay. Well, this band started out really as a grind album. I really loved their Above the Mind of Morbidity, their mini album. And then and I hold this band responsible for starting the death and roll movement. Zizmo with Yeah.
It's a great record.
Oh, it's fantastic. When I first heard it, I was like, "What in the world is this?" And some of the songs had some of that Smashing Pumpkins kind of riffage in it, but still just deep guttural vocals against a really hooky and catchy sound. Yeah, I absolutely adore this album. But they did definitely change their sound from a Carcass sounding finished grind band, and then went into this direction, which is, to be honest, I thought it was fantastic. But I think, this is 1991, and they're doing death and roll, and I'm not sure who started, or after that, I think Wolverine Blues was the big death and roll album, but I think this one was the first one. But great one. This is some killer stuff. But anything finished from Finland is freaking awesome, in my opinion. Convulse, they did the same thing. Their first album was really straightforward, old school death metal, and then they went to another direction. It seemed like the very next album.
That Convulse, they even though they went kind of back to death metal, they never recaptured the fire of that album. As far as what I've heard, it's never been the same.
Yeah, they lost their mysticism when they changed their sound, because that Convulse, World Without God, I don't know. There's something about it, because you put that thing on it, and you could feel the fog roll in and the temperature drop and the evilness come in, and then after that they just lost it.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Jurgen?
I think I'm the only person who loves the second Convulse is called Reflections, I think. Yeah,
I love that album.
Yeah, I think that is better than the debut. I'm
no.
pretty much alone with that, so yeah.
You know what? I don't know if I've heard that one. I heard it when they got back together.
Yeah, Reflections is really good. I mean, it doesn't sound like a Convulse album per se, because I heard World Without God first. But yeah, it's a great record. It's just like that. Yeah, or Zizma, it's the same thing. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I just call it Zizma. But yeah, but the album you're talking about, there's two different Convulses. There's the old school death metal, the evil stuff, and then Reflections. But they're both great albums.
Right on. Alan.
All right, getting late, but got a couple more here to go. Let's see. Here's a newer band that has been changing styles a lot, pretty much throughout their career. I've been working my way back through their discography. It is Horrendous. I just picked Ecdysis, the second album, because there's a big jump right here from the debut. The debut is a good sort of old school death metal sounding album. There's a lot of American death metal in it. It's got the HM2 sound in it. It's got a real lack of bass to it again. Once again, another album where the bass didn't get much love in the production. This album, they fixed the sound, but they're also changing style. It's moving a bit towards a death and roll style, but it's a little more jazzed up than typical. Sometimes with death and roll you think, okay, it's just meant to be fast, simple, beer drinking music. Ecdysis doesn't really fit that pattern. These songs are a bit complicated. They don't repeat parts of tracks very often. It's not like they're going back to the chorus every 30 seconds. And Horrendous keeps changing after this, and Aretta's a different type of album. With Idol, they get notably more progressive. And then the album that came out a couple of years ago, Ontological Mysterium, again, really leaning into the progressive side of their sound. They've retained the, harsh, shrieked, hoarse vocals, so they still have that death metal element, but other than the vocals, a lot of it's been shed over the years. They've gotten more and more into prog territory and further from death metal. Horrendous albums can take me a while to get into, but they're usually worth the effort. that it takes. I am finally starting to connect, like with Ontological Mysterium. When it came out, I wasn't quite there with that one, but recent listens, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get it. Same with Idol. Idol's always been one I've had trouble, but going back to it a couple more times, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm starting to see how it fits. They're definitely a band that's on a certain trajectory where they move a little further from death metal with each album, bring in a little bit more of, progressive and other influences. It's not for everyone. Some folks really, really like what they're doing, and some folks cannot stand, the trajectory they're on. I like parts of it better than others, but it's usually worth the effort it takes me to finally wrap my brain around it. So yeah, I think Horrendous, interesting project that's definitely changing from album to album. They really don't have two albums that sound all that much alike, at least not yet.
All right. Well, I told myself I wasn't going to talk about this band, but they got a new album coming out next week. So we're going to go.
Simon asked 2.5 hours ago, how long before Chameleon?
Everybody drink.
Marty does not disappoint.
So, yeah, this is a band that has been through some changes. When you start messing with your lead singer, it's a crapshoot. Sometimes it works great for people. Sometimes it doesn't work great for people. And there are people that like, this early style, which is very speed metal, but absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And they got 18-year-old Michael Kiska to start singing for them. And, speed metal, even in recent Halloween, it's still a part of their formula. It still creeps in. Granted, over the years, it's gotten a little bit more true metal. They go commercial on occasions, but through all the shifts in this band's catalog, they still are identifiably Halloween. This obviously is the blueprint for what European power metal would become. It still is to this day. They even had a sidestep along the way. Alan hates it, and I don't love this is my least favorite Halloween album, but the more I've listened to it over the last few years, I don't hate it. I can put it on and enjoy it.
That's Stockholm Syndrome talking, sir.
It is. I don't care. And then they changed singers again. They got Andy Darris, who obviously had massive shoes to fill. Some people love him. Some people don't love him. Some people are on the fence. I was a big Kiska fan. When I first heard remnants of this coming down, I didn't like his voice. And at this point, I had moved on to death and black metal. Halloween, these CDs were too expensive to buy. They weren't the local stores. But years later, coming back around, I love the Darris era. I love it. I think he saved Halloween in a lot of ways. And they have put out, since his return, have put out a lot of really great records. So here's a tale of a band that has changed their vocalist and at times their style a bit, like on Chameleon, all this big band bullshit and all this other stuff they did to that record. Very strange record, but there's some good songs on it yet. Love the band. For a band this deep in the game and still putting out great records, pretty awesome. And I know for a fact that Steve can attest to how sick of a bass player Marcus Grosskopf is. So,
oh my goodness,
he is insanely sick of a bass player.
Yeah, and that's already on the first EP.
Yeah. And really, they've got 3 guitarists in the band now, and every single one of them is a beast. And they're not sickeningly gratuitous technicality. Every note makes sense. And they all work off each other so well. What a fantastic band. Absolutely fantastic band. You're going to love the new one. Alan doesn't think so, but it's
not
it's
bad,
great.
but it's average. It's a step down from the last album for sure.
It's got a handful of songs that you got to kind of work around a bit, but I ended up liking them because, I'm a sick little monkey spanker. Jurgen.
See, we've got time for probably 2 more rounds, guys, since we're
Right
close to midnight.
Close to midnight? No, it's close to 6 o'clock.
Yes, the sun is coming up in Germany right now, and Jurgen is soldiering on.
I have to bring up that.
Oh yeah,
Within only 5 years, they went from this to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They took a couple of steps. The follow up to Left Hand Path was still a death metal album. Yeah, I don't like Clandestine as much. Then they went the rock and roll road a little bit, and this is totally different. Same difference, as the name says it. They were touring with Napalm Death the year before, and they released Diatribes, and they got a lot of Sonic Youth influences on that one. So yeah.
Yep. Classic.
Two totally different bands.
Totally different bands.
Yeah.
You know, Wade, Morning Star is a good record. I like that record. I haven't listened to it in 1,000 years, but it's a good record. I thought they did a good job on that one.
Yeah, S&T is one of my favorite bands as well. I love everything they did.
Right on. All right, Steve.
Okay, so this band did change their sound quite a bit. I mean, their debut sounds nothing like this album whatsoever. And Morbid Angel's Heretic. And the main thing when I first heard this was the guitar tone was atrocious. And but you know, this is a great record, but it took a while to grow on me. It's one of those. But their sound on this one to me was kind of strange. I mean, all the soundscape stuff, I guess. I always call it soundscape. And it seems like the songs were just not like anything off of Domination or FFF or Covenant or anything like that. But you know, after a while, this album's kind of grown on me, and I don't even know what else to say about it. I was just trying to find something because I ran out of freaking records, but this one definitely had a different sound to it.
You didn't even think about talking about this sweltering turd, did you?
I don't own that piece of shit. I don't own it. I don't even think I've heard a couple. So I mean, the only reason I listened to it online is because everybody was talking about how bad it was, and then so I listened to it and I was like, oh geez, they're freaking right. I'm not buying it, and I didn't buy the other album after that. This is actually the last Morbid Angel album I've ever bought.
Yep. Yeah, this thing here, I remember being so freaking stoked. David Vincent's coming back to Morbid Angel, reclaiming the throne. Well, man, cop, kill a cop, kill a cop, and the Destructo.
Yeah.
What a Marilyn Manson bullshit that's on here. What the? And then you got Blades for Baal, which is a good song. It's a good Morbid Angel song.
There's
Production's weird, but it's
on there. Not many, but
yeah.
There's a few you can eke out.
Man.
It's kind of like the Chameleon of Morbid Angel. It's mostly crap, but there are a few little scraps here and there.
Chameleon is way better than that album. Way better.
No, it's not. Let's find an album that is better than either of those albums, though. Let's see. 2 left. So this round we will definitely mention Savatage. Savatage is one of those rare bands that completely changes style in the middle of their careers. And at least for me, they're equally good. The early stuff is great. Not every album. People sometimes forget that Savatage does have a couple of clunkers in their early catalog, like Fight for the Rock. But stuff like Power for the Night, Hall of the Mountain King, those are what people focus on, and they should. Those are great albums. Then you get to Gutter Ballet. It's kind of a transitional album. It shows they're definitely heading somewhere else, and they did. In the 90s, they started doing these big rock operas like Streets and Dead Winter Dead and things. And most of those are really good. Yeah. Again, there's a couple of misfires in there, but they really did well at that style. John and Chris had a knack for writing those big epics, and early on, they had a great knack for writing some killer headbanging stuff. So yeah, Sabotage completely went in a different direction, kind of around the change of the decade from the 80s to the 90s, but it worked for them. A lot of folks will prefer one style over the other. I like both eras quite a bit. And we are still waiting for John to finish working out the kinks of the next and most likely last Sabotage album, which he's been promising for a year or two now.
And the live band's ramping up, playing festivals and planning on big festivals for next year. And
the rest of the band's
coming
been on
soon,
the road.
I think.
Yeah, John probably would have been on the road with them, but he had a pretty nasty back injury, if I remember right, shortly before that stuff was coming up. So he was not in any shape to travel and perform.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Marty, you got 2 left. Which one are you going to show us right now?
Well, I'm going to pick a positive pick. I don't know this. I do know that I don't like this as much as the debut, but here is a sign of a band on their second album, Diabolical Summoning. People love this record. Mm-hmm. I like this record. I liked it when it came out, but it's not Cross the Sticks. They took a very awesome European death metal sound mixed with a heavy-handed dose of thrash. You could tell they were thrash kids, and they started getting heavier, and they wrote these riff salad awesome songs that just are otherworldly to me. This album, they sound influenced by American death metal. This sounds like it was influenced by the Florida sound. I mean, it isn't a pure Florida sound, don't get me wrong here, but it's a European take on a Florida sound, and this album rules. I like the albums that came after this. I like this album, but I was a bit bummed that it wasn't Cross the Sticks Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. I wanted that real bad, but that'll always be like top 10 death metal record for me. But this one, it's a great record. It's just a bit of a leaning into the American flavor of death metal, which obviously was more popular. I don't know if that's a correct statement, but it kind of was, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, it has a lot of Deicide influences.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
But they made the same transition. If you listen to the first Amon demos, they were thrashy as well. So
yeah,
a little bit like Cross the Sticks.
Yeah.
So
Sinister's had a really stable catalog throughout the years. A few missteps here and there, but then you get to albums like Afterburner. That rules. I love that Afterburner record. It has a bit of the old flavor to it, those really weird but melodically charged riffs, and it just sounds like old Sinister again,
Yeah, that Afterburner is a killer freaking album.
Killer record.
Sinister is one of my favorite death metal. I have so many favorite death metal bands. I keep on saying that, but they're one of my favorites.
Yeah. Classic for sure.
Marty, I wondered why you haven't brought up that.
I didn't even think about it.
They changed from this to that.
Yeah.
If you listen to those 2 albums, they don't sound like the same band.
No.
And they aren't the same band. But if you followed them since the beginning, you can hear every little step they did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To land where I think this one and FWX are their most awkward albums in their catalog.
Yeah.
But if you followed them step by step with Inside Out and everything in between, you can see where they were going. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point, Jurgen. They change a ton, but yes, there's really like crazy huge jumps in their catalog. That one album kind of starts to transition towards the next, and it'll transition to the next. But yeah,
great pick.
Lot of good stuff, and again, some people prefer one era over the other. I think both eras have a lot of good material, for sure. Yeah, I've been going back and revisiting some of like just the last couple of albums before they retired. And those last couple albums are very good. Theories in Flight is one of their best albums. Probably their best album of the past 20 years.
Yeah, it is.
If it's not, it's got to be close second.
All right, Steve.
Okay, so of course, back in the '80s, I am a huge Queensryche fan, and any band that sounded like Queensryche, I was all about it. And they released this one, and of course, Phil sounds a lot like Jim Tate in this one.
Is that an OG?
No, hell no, this is a bootleg.
Yeah.
But happy to have a copy of this, because the only copy I had for years was my friend Frank recorded it or dubbed it off on cassette. And then one day I walked into a record store probably 4 or 5 months ago and see this there. At first I thought it was OG, and I was like, man, look, it's brand new. And then it's not, it's a bootleg, but fantastic album. But 2 years later, they release this.
Yeah.
So it's nothing like that album. To be honest with you, I did not know what to make of this album when I first started. It was more aggressive, but it had a certain that groove metal sound that was kind of new back then. You didn't hear many bands doing that. And of course, I love this album. Don't get me wrong, I love this album, but it doesn't sound anything like power metal. But I remember first hearing this one. I was kind of disappointed because I was hoping to get another power metal sounding a record, and this one has some of that, but it's a little bit more aggressive. And to me, the second track, Primal Concrete Slabs, is real industrial sounding, I thought. And but I did love the ballad, Cemetery Gates. My favorite track on this is actually The Sleep, which really reminds me of something off of Queensryche's Empire album. Like anybody listening off of this album, it seems like they kind of had that sound on The Sleep a little bit for this one. But I think these both came out the same year, actually, 1990, if I remember right. But yeah, that's what I got. That's my last one I had. This was actually the first one I was going to show, and I forgot.
Yeah, folks have been asking and bringing up Contreras. That's a good one to close on.
And it's, before I say what I was going to say here, Shred Boy, Steve, if you like Queensryche, try Power of Omens, like a cross between Dream Theater, Fates Warning, and Queensryche.
Oh yeah, I'll check that out.
There's another band called Lethal.
Yes, Jurgen just showed. We had we sent a couple private videos, and he showed that Lethal, and I need to get a copy of that. That was freaking fantastic. I heard it back in the day, but I've forgotten about it until he showed it. That
total Queensryche copy.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Pantera fan, but it's kind of sad that the estate doesn't release those first 3 records, because there is a contingent of people that really love them. So I mean, it seems like it's something they could do. But
yeah, those first 3 with the different vocalists are pretty good. I can't remember what they are, because I really haven't listened to them that much. Power Metal is the first one I heard, and it was all the Phil stuff I heard. But the first 3, of course, I started off with glam metal and heavy metal, and graduated just like most of the guys our age back in the day did. And I don't know. Yeah, Power Metal is freaking killer album. I was so stoked. Even if it's a bootleg, I don't care, because I still get to put it in there, because the dub cassette I don't have anymore. So having that copy, and that sounds really good. That bootleg sounds really good.
Yeah. All right, Alan.
All right, let's see. I've got 2 left. I think Marty's going to show one of them, so I'm going to go with the other one. If Marty doesn't show the other one, then we overlooked somebody we definitely should have brought up. The one I will show is an old favorite, the Misfits. They changed their sound over time. Again, there's lineup changes and such. Yeah, early on they were working, more in kind of a classic punk vibe with the Static Age era stuff, which is excellent. Yeah, lineup changed, and they definitely got more into the whole sci-fi horror kind of business, so to speak. And then by the end of Glenn's run in the band, you get to Earth AD, which is a much heavier and thrashier kind of album than anything they had done leading up to it. So yeah, we even within just that original span of the Misfits run, there's very distinct eras with very distinct sounds. I tend to like almost all of it. Earth AD's always been my least favorite, just because it feels like they lost some of the elements that really made them stand out on that album. Not that it's bad, but it's a little bit one-dimensional compared to what they had done before. But the early days here with Mr. Jim, before Jerry's wearing the big spikes and all that kind of stuff, before the Devil Locks. Still made awesome music, but yeah, there's more throwback to their 50s roots and stuff in here. Again, you still have creepy elements. They're still doing some of the sci-fi kind of tributes. It just became more exaggerated as time went on, and you got into like the Walk Among Us years. And then Earth AD, just kind of becomes a bulldozer and starts flattening things. Like it all. Great band, one of my favorite bands. Had to mention the Misfits and how they changed over time. We won't talk about the changes that happened much, much later when they tried to get Des Cadena to sing for them. Nothing against Des, but that was not the right gig for him.
So let me ask you this, and Misfits fans in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Now that obviously they're all back together, Glenn's back in the band, what would you think about a Misfits reunion album with Glenn Danzig? Would that be something you gave a shit about, or is that kind of the cringe factor?
That's a fair question. I'd probably have my normal reaction to these kind of reunion things, where it'd be like, that's interesting. They could do something really special because they had a fair amount of material back in the day, but it also felt like they probably had a lot more potential if they'd stuck with it instead of falling apart. But yeah, at the same time, could they really do their legacy justice with new material? I'd be sitting there, crossing my fingers and flinching my clists really hard, being like, "Oh, please don't suck, please don't suck." Yeah, I don't know. I'd be really, really worried that could go wrong in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I don't think it would be. I don't like Danzig's voice now. To me,
you might have trouble with it. That's a good point, Steve.
Yeah,
and I sure as hell don't want to hear Jerry only sing on the material.
No.
Jerry is not a vocalist. He cannot. Anytime Jerry has had to fill in on vocals, it does not sound good. So yeah, I don't know. Could they? Yeah, what do they sing about? Do they pick modern horror sci-fi movies to go on about? Do they go with some of Glenn's really weird, dark, subject matter? I don't know how it would work out.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be, I don't know. I think Danzig 666, the Satan's Child album, that's where Glenn Danzig's voice, I couldn't stand his voice in that. After that, I was done with it. I was pretty much done with him at the one I showed earlier, 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, around 6 you start to hear the changes happening. There are parts of that later catalog I can I don't mind, but yeah, you're right. He doesn't and fair enough. Good Lord, the dude's ancient at this point. You can't sound like you did when you were 20. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
Is Danzig in his 70s? Is that wrong to say that?
No, I can't.
He's up there.
Let's ask the AI bots.
Go to the mothership and see. I'm going to guess he's 70 exactly.
Yep.
70 years old. Good guess.
Good grief.
Yep. Doyle is 60 and Jerry is 66.
Wow.
Is there really 10 years between them? I didn't know there was that big an age gap.
Yeah.
Hey, just in case, before my phone may die, it's flashing at me with 15%. So just in case I just disappear, that's why.
Right on.
Fair enough. We'll wrap it on up here. All right, Marty. This is your last one. I'm calling the shot.
Okay. I don't get it.
I think this is going to be the last band you talk about.
Okay.
I'm covering up the CD with my hand.
Oh, right on. I thought it was like some weird sign language for.
Oh, sorry.
I thought it was a dog or something.
Making shadow puppets over here. Is it a duck? Maybe it's a brooch, a pterodactyl, a very large Tylenol.
This certainly isn't a cult pick or a very metal pick, but this is a band that changed, I think, for the better, and that would be The Gathering.
Oh,
Did I get it, Alan? Was that the right one? Nope. See, I showed that in the first. I remember showing it on the first. You can show that on the next round.
No, I'm done. But yeah, I thought, we didn't talk about Sentence.
Yeah, that band changed every album for the first 4 albums. They're all different. So
yep, they did. But no, this is a good pick too.
Yep.
This band started off as kind of a dreary, murky, romanticized death metal band, and fair enough, decent. But when they got Annika on vocals, they kind of changed. It's hard to call it metal. There's elements of it, but it feels more alternative influence metal. I don't know, but she just added a very whimsical, beautiful element. I loved her voice. In this album, she wasn't always in key, but man, it was just really good. She just a really good job. It's a kind of a heavy, kind of a sad record. As they worked it out on the next album, it got a little bit smoother, a little more refined, a little darker, a little sadder. This is a band that, even my wife likes this band at this era. With that tells you that it reaches beyond. I think it appealed to metalheads. I mean, me and Alan saw them at Milwaukee Metal Fest, and the place was packed. And so people in Campbell Corpse and Cradle of Filth shirts were swaying to the music. So it's obviously there's cross genre sort of appreciation here, but this band came out of just your kind of average good but not very remarkable into something remarkable. So this is a sign of a band that changed for the better for me. And for people listening, I pulled The Gathering. I'm real bad. I know there's some people that just listen to this and don't watch us. And The Gathering's Mandy Lion.
I love Annika's vocals with Devin Townsend stuff. I think
Super Crush and all that whole album is great. Yeah, Addicted. I think that's the Addicted album, isn't it? Great album.
Yeah. I think she did some with what's that album called? I can't remember. I'll think of it here later. But she did some more vocals with him on other albums and a lot of live stuff. But it's funny you brought that up. I just watched literally maybe 3 or 4 days ago her doing a Slayer cover with a piano.
Yep.
It's on YouTube. It's absolutely amazing.
She is or was married to the drummer from Celestial Season too, and they have a child together. I don't know if they're still married or not. I have no idea, but
right.
And the husband, Goldie Wax has a connection there.
Yeah, right on. Great. And she was also in like a kind of a doomish band too for a while. Did vocals on all of it. I don't know if they put out 1 or 2 albums. Started with a V. I can't remember exactly. I watched a couple of festival shows and pretty cool. She's definitely likes metal. That's
All right,
Jurgen. Are we done, or where are we at here?
We're done unless anybody's got a couple of things they want to show here to wrap up. But nope, we're done otherwise.
Yeah.
But Jurgen, if you got 1 or 2 you wanted to blast through, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
Okay. You got from this to whatever.
Oof.
I'm gonna keep it short.
It got bad. That Blute album. Oh my god.
And it got even worse after that.
Oh boy.
So they are doing German disco cover songs and shit like that. And they started as a weird, almost grindcore band. So everybody knows their first two albums, Hallucinations and Longing for Death.
Yeah.
This is their first EP. This is more grindcore than it is
Yeah.
metal.
Huh.
So yeah, I'm done.
Steve, you came in a little late. Do you have a couple you want to run through, or where are you at?
Well, no, I don't think I have any. Well, I have some stuff. I think. Well, I don't even think it matters, but I'll show it anyway. Immortals, Full Moon or Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism. Love that album, but then this came out just a couple of years ago. And I think I've only spun it a couple of times, but they changed their sound quite a bit, of course. And of course, the bot is not in this album at all, but it doesn't sound anything like their other stuff. And it's very vague difference. I don't even know why I brought this out, but it was the last one I had.
Okay. No, that's Immortal's a good call. Yep, they've gone through some different phases on their sound for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we made it. Steve's phone did not die.
Yeah.
Jurgen, Steve, thanks so much for hopping on and joining us. Very fun topic. Something that, hadn't talked about in a long time. And thanks to everybody in the chat. It's been a really busy, very full chat pretty much the whole night.
All night. Y'all
appreciate
rule.
folks hanging out. Thanks to Drakal for hopping on here at the end. Sorry you're coming on at the very end over in Europe. But anybody who didn't catch parts of it, it'll of course be available on YouTube for you to watch at your leisure. But Jurgen, Steve, anything that y'all would like to promote or talk about, things you got coming up?
No, I don't have anything. I wish I figured out how to. I can't figure out how to look at the chat when it goes by. So anybody that said anything, I didn't see it because until it's put up right there. But it was cool. I don't know if you know this, but it was cool being on this show. Right, Jurgen?
Well, it's good having you.
Thomas saying. Thomas at Merciful Metal, he did that one day, and I can't stop doing it. I just chatted with him earlier, so
They had their baby?
Yeah, he had his baby. So
Nice.
Good deal. Congratulations to Thomas.
Definitely congratulations. Hell of a deal there for great stuff.
Yep. Jurgen, anything that you would like to tell folks about that you're working on?
No, not really. I'm just like Steve. I'm pulling out stuff from my ass when I want to.
Well,
so yeah. I don't plan any videos. If I'm in the mood, if I feel like doing one, I do one. If not, I'm not.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
I did have a video up a couple of days ago, and then I got age restriction because I showed a Led Zeppelin album. I won't bring it all the way up, but for some reason, I don't understand that thumbnail to the Houses of Holies all over the place. But I just ended up deleting it because, age restriction because of Led Zeppelin. Good grief.
I actually had them take the thumbnail off of one of my videos because there's like one album cover had like one badly drawn gray blobby boob slightly visible. Yeah. I didn't even know it was on the album cover. I'm just like,
those are the best kind, by the way.
Why did the thumbnail get taken off? Because they didn't give an explanation either. So I was just like, maybe I just forgot to add the thumbnail. So I put it back on, and the second time they yanked it off, and then they sent an email. It was like, you're putting sexually explicit content on the internet. I'm like, the fuck you say? I'm like looking at the CD and like, like, oh dear God, really? That's. I'm sorry. There is no horny 14-year-old boy on earth that is so worked up that he's going to spank his inner monkey looking at this one gray blobby boob on this one death metal album.
What the fuck is wrong with this world? You're banned on YouTube for showing a bad drawn boob, but you can watch 15-hour streams of people playing shooting games, killing people.
Yeah, if it's
into the thousands. So yeah.
violence, language, misinformation, it's all good. But a booby, oh my,
Yeah, I must keep them covered. Yeah.
yes, yeah, it's yeah. It does say something about society. I agree, Jurgen.
Steve's phone died.
We got him. We got through those picks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Marty, any show notes that you want to tell folks? Before we hang it up.
Well, this past week, we put up a review. Logan did a review, put it up on Wednesday. I can't remember the name of the band. Check it out. He did a great job on it. We did the album club on Forbidden Evil. Next week, there'll be another review up of something by somebody. And Wednesday's album club will be of the Chilean band Mental Devastation. So check us out on Wednesday. And we'll be there. And thank you, everybody. You all rule. We love you guys. Check out the Discord server if you like these conversations you're having in the chat. It's happening all week long in the Discord server. A lot of the same people. We're over 200 people in there now, and it's great conversation all day. Sharing bunch of different music and talking about music and metal. It's fantastic. You all rule. But yeah, that's it. Go subscribe to S&T Young, link in the description. Go subscribe to our friend 6 Beers, 9 Wives.
I've got one. Cyberman just posted, care about the children. What is one of the first things a child sees? It's normally a boob. It's normally a boob. So,
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yep. Agreed.
Indeed.
And with that, everybody take care. Oh, go check out Let's Talk Metal. Alan is doing the Lord's work every Tuesday, very early.
Badly drawn gray boobs on the internet.
If you want to see what an ugly gray boob looks like, that's the place on the internet to go to. Is Alan's site. So, cheers, everybody. Y'all rule. Talk to you later. Take care.
Take care of your inner monkey.